Oh, I need to unmute alerts. Know me? Don't you know me? Thank you, Hammond. I don't worry, I read it. And Pair of Eights, thank you again so much for the 9 months. Pair of Eights, I'm thank you. And thank you for the bits, Hammond. Okay, so here's what we're gonna be doing. Nighthaunts, this book just came out, and I'm a big Nighthaunt fan. I love Nighthaunt so much. And I'm actually really excited by their new book. I definitely was kind of worried when the new starter set came out, because it released with the Craven Throne Guard and the Scriptor Mortis. And the Scriptor Mortis, as far as I'm concerned, is very easy. He's a little too much of a gimmick for me. And the Craven Throne Guard are one of the worst units in the entirety of AOS. I don't understand what they were thinking with that list. It's absolutely awful. Oh wait, I need to do one more thing. Sorry, I keep having to. It's like I have to remember the music has to go on that side. That way I can just tell it to loop. There we go. All right. Now we're good. Okay. So let's get started. So there's a build I've been thinking about a lot that I'm going to try and make. If you play a Wood Elf, can you know about gnomes? Very, very unlikely. I think the only type of elf that would have any idea what a gnome is would be if I was the GM of a Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th Edition campaign, and you were playing specifically a Laralorn elf, and you had like lore of the Midlands, so like the area surrounding Laralorn, I would have you roll like a -30 check using like lore Midland, or to see if you have heard about or know the gnomes, because I don't think they would encounter one another very often, if at all. Jake Woo, good to see you. All right, so let's talk about the new Nighthaunt, and goods and bads. So this is the new Nighthaunt list, and like I said, pretty much everything leaked, which is why I'm not going to worry about it. We're just going to talk about it. So first we have processions. So, well, let's start with the rules. So let's see what the absolute baseline rules we have to work with are. Also, I'm going to need a calculator. Oop. So we have Aura of Dread, which Aura of Dread makes it so that if an enemy ever gets within 3 inches of a Nighthaunt unit, they are terrified. That is so good, because Terrify activates a lot of specific abilities within the army list, and also if someone is terrified, they cannot issue or receive Inspiring Presence. So as long as the enemy as long as someone is within 3 inches of any of your units, they cannot use Inspiring Presence. Now, they can use abilities that are similar to Inspiring Presence, but the actual base Inspiring Presence ability they cannot use, which is extremely strong for just like a nice baseline ability. That's awesome. There's literally no downside. Then you have Ethereal. Ethereal has been heavily upgraded. So Ethereal used to just mean functionally that you always had fly and your save could not be modified. However, now Ethereal is all Nighthaunts, no matter what, have a 6-up ward save. That is so strong, because it used to be that all Nighthaunts had a 6-up ward save only if the entire unit was wholly within 12 inches of a friendly character. So if you were not constantly maintaining bubbles of Nighthaunt characters, then you would not have a ward save. Now all Nighthaunt have a ward save, period, end of story. Great, that's awesome. That means you do not have to babysit with your characters anymore in most circumstances. In addition, All friendly Nighthaunt units can retreat and charge in the same turn. Jesus Christ. Ladley57 and Living Legend, good to see you guys. Welcome to the stream. Oops. That is insane. So the entire army can retreat and charge. My God. My God. That is so strong. Scarsnick, have a good one, dude. Thanks so much for being here. That's crazy. That's crazy. There used to be like I want to say there were 3 or 4 units in the Nighthaunt army that could retreat and charge, and now the entire army can do that. That's amazing. Then we still have the original ethereal rule, which is that you ignore all modifiers to save rolls against Nighthaunts. So you cannot improve their armor save or their regular save, and you also cannot, and rend does not work on them, nor do any modifiers. So under no circumstances can someone reduce your save, but also you cannot increase your save. Also, all Nighthaunt can fly. So when you combo the fact that the entire army can retreat and charge in the same turn, and also the entire army can fly, goddamn. Oh my gosh. I'm not even going to try to say your name. I'm just going to call you Freund. Freund? I'm going to call you Freund. When will I be doing the next Lore Beards? Okay, so this is actually a question I needed to ask y'all. I'm glad you brought that up because I need to ask. So I have tried and I have no idea when Nathan is going to feel able to do Lore Beards again. Nathan he just don't want to do it anymore. He's just kind of wound himself up into a lot of negativity, and he just doesn't want to live stream, or at least he doesn't want to do Warhammer related live streams, it seems. So I can't get him to come on the show. So it's not so much Lore Beards as Lore Beard, which I don't think it's really a podcast anymore if it's a single person because I have no one to like bounce off of. So I don't know what to do, honestly. I don't know if I should just do a stream for like 2 hours where I talk about various subjects, or if I should just do my best to just get a different guest on every single time. Like try and get a guest on for every episode. We could do that and just talk to random people until maybe Nathan comes back or I find a replacement. Turin's not going to want to do it. I love Turin. He's not going to want to do it. I don't think that's something he has an interest in, but so I will, if one of the mods are here, I would love to see a poll with no like additional votes or anything. You can just do like a 10-minute or 3 minutes is probably fine. Like just a good 3-minute poll of, would y'all prefer it's just like me talking about like a list of subjects every episode, or would you prefer that I invite a random guest on every episode, or would you prefer just not, like, just do something else, like replace it? I would say those would be the options. Anyway, hopefully there's a mod here. If a mod's here, can you raise your hand in chat? Just so I know. All right, so let's get back to the Nighthaunt. So, all Nighthaunt can fly. All Nighthaunt ignore modifiers to save. All Nighthaunt have a 6-up ward, and all Nighthaunt can retreat and charge in the same turn. Amazing, great. Discorporate. This is what I needed. I needed this so bad with Nighthaunt. So Discorporate is a command ability that says whenever a friendly Nighthaunt unit is targeted in a shooting or combat phase, that unit can be given a ward save of a 5-up instead of a 6-up until the end of that phase. So a couple things that are super amazing about them. Number one, there is no limit to how you target this command ability. You don't need line of sight. You don't there actually wait, no, that's not true. Do you need line of sight for basic command abilities? I forget. I think you do, right? And then I think for a regular character, it's a 12-inch range. And then for a general, it's 18. My brain's fuzzy on that. I think it's normal characters are 12. And then I think totems in general is 18. Something like that. But that's an amazing command ability, because I would say that in 3rd edition, the easily most frustrating thing for Nighthaunt was that we completely lost access to Mystic Shield and the all-out defense, because in 2nd edition, all-out defense and Mystic Shield were rerolls. Okay, you need line of sight. Heroes 12 inches. Generals and totems are 18. Okay, that's great. Okay, cool. So anyway, so in 2nd edition, Mystic Shield and All Out Defense were reroll 1s on saves, which for Nighthaunt worked. Like, we could use that. That was great for us because our save could not be changed. So rerolling 1s was always good. But in 3rd edition, it changed to, it improved your save by 1. So Mystic Shield gave you +1 to your save, and All Out Defense gave you +1 to your save. But the problem with Nighthaunt is that we can't modify our saves. So both of those, that spell and that ability, command ability, became completely useless to us. And I hated so much that I didn't have any kind of way to try and like save myself from significant damage. This gives me an option. It's super duper nice. It's very easy to use. Quite a few units can use it on themselves, because as long as a unit is elite or has a unit champion, they can issue themselves command abilities. So being able to pick a unit and be like, this unit's got a 5-up ward instead of a 6-up ward, hey, that's awesome. And I can use that once per combat phase and once per shooting phase. I love that. Love that. That is an amazing ability, and finally gives us our own version of all-out defense. And we even have our own spell that's basically our version of Mystic Shield now. So that's great. That's awesome. Super duper happy with Discorporate. This is probably, in my opinion, the most interesting new rule, Wave of Terror. So Wave of Terror used to be the way you would win games with Nighthaunt, and now it still is, but in a different way. So what Wave of Terror used to be is that whenever you declared a charge, you'd roll 2d6, and if you got a natural 10 or higher on your 2d6, then your Nighthaunt unit got to fight immediately, in addition to fighting later in the close combat phase, which was very strong. But it was also very weird, because pretty much no one else in the game could do that, and it honestly felt very cheesy. Because it wasn't a very good chance of going off, but if you got it to go off a couple times in a game, it could completely change the match. And it made the Nighthaunt, like, if you had good dice, it made your army go from being like a mid-tier army to a top-tier army. So now it's changed to something that's quite a bit more reasonable, but also much more predictable. So now what Wave of Terror does is whenever a unit... Oh yeah, there's no mods here, is there? Okay, fine, I'll do it myself. Whoa. Okay, hold on, chat, one sec. Do everything myself. We need to hold mod applications, because if I hold mod applications, then it would be people that want to do it applying instead of just random, instead of me just picking random names, which I've done. Well, not random, but if you get people that want to do it, that would be great. What should happen to Warbeards? Invite new guests weekly. Solo act, replace with other content. It's like none of my mods are over here anymore. Okay, the Lorebeards poll is up, so go check that out. God damn it, I don't have a button for that. I need to make a button for that. All right, anyway, so now what Wave of Terror does is every single time a Nighthaunt unit completes a charge, depending on what you rolled, you get to apply an effect to your enemy. And the other thing is that it stacks, which is wild to me. Like that is absolutely insane in like a really cool way. So when you charge a unit with a Nighthaunt unit, if you shriek at them, they get -1 to hit for that combat phase. If you stun them, they get -1 to their save rolls. And if you petrify them, they get always strike last. Obviously, if you get petrify, like you only need to do that once. Now, it's what's built in is that if you whatever you roll, you can pick that. So like, let's say you rolled an 11, so that would be 10 plus, which is a petrify. You can take either what you rolled or a lower result. So let's say you had 2 units that charge an enemy, right? And they both roll an 11 and a 12. So for the first one, oh, I rolled an 11, I'll petrify you, so you have always strike last. And then with the second unit, because I've already petrified you, I could instead choose to stun you to give you -1 to your save, or to shriek at you, which gives you -1 to hit. Losing Mastered, I actually don't think the Nighthaunt are that overpowered. I don't think the power creep is as bad in this book. Now granted, I have to play it still. But in my opinion, the book is fairly modest in a lot of ways. And most of it requires the Nighthaunts to be extremely aggressive, which comes with various risks. There is nothing in this book that is as bad as the Stormcast dragons, which are still needing to be toned down. I haven't heard of any appropriate debuff on them, but the power creep has actually been pretty reasonable. The Idoneth Deepkin book and the Fireslayer book and the Maggotkin of Nurgle book were also pretty tame. The Stormcast Eternal book needs some tweaks because of the dragons, but pretty much everything else has been pretty chill. Most of the problems that we have currently are actually from the 2nd edition books, not the 3rd edition books. The 3rd edition books are actually very interesting. They also, in general, are making your armies a lot smaller. All right, so y'all want Lorebeards to continue, is what I'm hearing. Okay, I'll probably put a poll on YouTube as well. But anyway, so that's Wave of Terror. I also really like that it's stackable, because that means that... So Nighthaunt actually don't have much in the way of rend, and this gives us a way around it. Now, it's not a perfect solution, because the thing about the downside to Wave of Terror is that it only applies for the following combat phase. So like if you do a charge against an enemy, right? Like let's say you charge something that has like a 3+ save, and you charge it with like 5 units, and you do like you nuke their save, right? But you don't kill them, you don't finish them off. When your turn ends and it's now their turn, you don't have any of the buffs from Wave of Terror. Wave of Terror goes away after a single combat phase. So it means during your opponent's turn, he's not going to have any negatives whatsoever from Wave of Terror, which I will say the scariest thing about that means that if you get double turned as Nighthaunt, it is so much worse than already being double turned, because that's going to be like back-to-back combat that you're not going to have your Wave of Terror bonus. So that's really spooky. And that's still something. You know what? The only other thing I want them to fix about 3rd edition is I want them to get rid of the battle regiment. I honest to God think that the battle regiment core battalion needs to die and like go away. I think 1-drop armies are so stupid. Like if it's a book specific thing because the army is like hyper elite or something, that's one thing. But I hate the battle regiment. I think it's so dumb. Because it just makes everyone rush to like drop their army as fast as possible. And it gets rid of a lot of nuance in list building, in my opinion. I think it's a terrible battalion. The 1-drop effect should be significantly more rare. Anyway, so that's Wave of Terror. Frightful Touch. So this one's really interesting. So Frightful Touch in 2nd edition was that only very specific units had it. It was basically anything that was a spirit host. So anything that was a spirit host or spirit host like had a rule called Frightful Touch, which is that whenever you would roll to hit, if you rolled a 6 to hit, you would deal a mortal wound, and that was it. Like you'd stop rolling that particular hit. Now what it is it is an army-wide rule. And this one's actually kind of tricky to remember because it's army-wide. So now every single model in the Nighthaunt army has a rule where whenever they roll dice to attack, if they roll a 6, it's an automatic wound. It's not a mortal wound, it's a regular wound. So they get to skip the wound roll. So hilariously, this means that Nighthaunt have Warhammer Fantasy Lizardman Poison. So I've gone from playing an army that I absolutely loved in Warhammer Fantasy because I spammed poison on as much things as I could to get 6s deal wounds, and now I'm doing it again in AOS. Which is hilarious. The Seraphon have a similar rule, but theirs is not army-wide, but it deals mortals instead. But Frightful Touch is that's amazing. Like that's great. Anytime you can skip a dice roll is good. Like that's always worth it. Whenever you can get like a guaranteed effect, that you should always go for that. So being able to just skip wound rolls on 6s, love it. Love it. And then this one is very interesting. We have Vanishing Phantasms. So Vanishing Phantasms is at the end of deployment, before determining control of objectives, you can remove up to 3 Nighthaunt units from the battlefield and place them to the side in ambush. And then they can deploy anywhere on the table more than 9 inches away from enemy unit at the end of a later movement phase. Interesting. Very, very interesting. So that means, we used to have Come from the Underworlds, which what that was is while you were deploying, for every unit you would deploy on the table, you could deploy 1 unit into the underworld. So like I put a unit on the table, my next unit I put in the underworld. I put another unit on the table, I put a unit in the underworld. Or I could put 3 units on the table back to back to back, and then put 2 in the underworld, another one on the table, another in the underworld, etc. So this is actually, I think, much better, because this adds a really interesting level of tactics to it, in that you can put your entire army on the table, and then once you have the lay of the land and like you know where your opponent is deploying, you get to pick 3 units to then immediately remove from the table and put them into ambush. So you can counter your opponent's deployment, which is fascinating. That is so interesting and very, very strong. The only thing you have to be careful about is it's before determining control of objectives. So like if you put a unit on an objective to claim it at the start of the battle, don't pick that unit because you would not get control of that objective. But that's really, really strong. And you can also do some really cool shenanigans with that. Vigario Pro, good to see you. Welcome to the stream. All right, so that is it for our army rules. There is a crap load of rules that apply to everyone. But the nice thing is they apply to everyone. So it actually makes them very easy to remember. All right, we're going to skip points for now. And I'm not going to go over every war scroll, I think, because that's going to take eternity. Well, okay, maybe we'll make it brief. I'm not going to like go super hard into it. So I will say one thing that I'm actually kind of sad about is we lost my favorite procession. So my favorite procession from 2nd edition was the one we got in Bellacor's book, which was Reichenor's Condemned, and they got rid of them, which was such a bummer. I don't mean their effect. I just mean like from a lore, like I love Reichenor's Condemned because they were very, very strong, but also from a lore standpoint, it was really, really fun. And he got canceled. He didn't make it into this book, which is such a bummer. But they really cut down. They in 3rd edition, they are substantially cutting down on the number of sub-factions. So we only have 4 now, which we got the Grieving Legion, which is enemies cannot retreat while they're within 3 inches of a Grieving Legion unit with 10 or more models. That is very specific. I honestly don't think I would ever take this because it is so specific. If the Grieving Legion was enemy units cannot retreat within 3 inches, period, I could see myself potentially taking it. But the fact that it has to be a horde unit, like, no, thank you. No, thank you. Especially because in my experience, the major problem in Age of Sigmar when it comes to enemies like retreating and stuff isn't really so much retreating as it is armies that abuse the really stupidest shit rule that I pray to God they get rid of as fast as they can, which is units that can teleport out of combat without doing a retreat move, like Manfred and the Lumineth Fox Spirits, which that's kind of another bummer of the Wave of Terror change. I will miss being able to attack in the charge phase instead of having to wait to the combat phase, because there were so many hilarious interactions we could do by fighting in the charge phase. I still wish that was a part of me almost still wishes that was our 10 plus, was that instead of giving them strike last, it was like we got to fight in the combat phase still, but like not in the combat phase, but whatever. Anyway, so Grieving Legion, never take it. I don't know. I don't like it's no retreat. Like it's good, but it's, I don't know. I don't like that you have to have 10 or more models, because that means that means there is not a single unit in the Nighthaunt army that can use this if they take a single wound, unless you double up. Fox Spirits don't teleport? What do Fox Spirits do? What's their super annoying shit? Because Manfred does the whole, if you're in combat with him, he teleports at the start of the combat phase, which is bullshit. Like, Manfred's rule would be so much more fair if they changed it to that when Manfred was activated in the combat phase, he could choose to teleport. Oh, it's a halved pylon? They move in your shooting phase. Oh, well, what's their movement? Like, if they move more than 9 inches, like, it might as well be a teleport. CS, good to see you. I have not fought a Fox Spirit list. 24 inches? Are you serious? They have a 24-inch move? Okay, Hades, you can get out of here with that not teleport bullshit. that might, like, that might as well. Like, okay, so if you end within 3 inches of them, there's nothing like, okay, that's so stupid. All right, anyway, moving on. Emerald Host. Emerald Host is probably going to be the must take for the vast majority of armies, unless you're running like a specific build. So Emerald Host is after the armies have been set up, but before the first battle round begins, pick D3 plus 1 different enemy units on the battlefield. At the end of every battle round, roll a dice for every unit that you picked. On a 2-up, they suffer D3 mortal wounds. If it is a monster, it suffers D3 plus 1 mortal wounds. That is amazing. That is amazing. Literally, the only way to dodge this is by... I mean, it is dodgeable by certain armies, but the only way to dodge it is to not put something on the table. So, for instance, if you like have a really important character or a really important unit that you don't want this effect going on, if you can put them in ambush deployment, they can dodge this. But a lot of the really big things tend to start on the table. But this is great. Like, it's just guaranteed well, it's not guaranteed damage, but it's very likely damage. That being said, I do see like really good potential in the other 3. Like I mean, Grieving Legion, I think there are some ideas I have in my head of making that work. But Emerald Host, I think, is going to be very popular. So yeah, that's Emerald Host, which is it just lends itself well to nuking people. The Scarlet Doom. So this one's super weird because it shows a picture of a Dreadscythe Harridan, and then the rule is actually about Bladegeist Revenants. As you would think they put a Bladegeist Revenant. Just watched your new video about the Immortal Empires beta, and I can't believe there are people who are saying the beta is a bad thing. That's all I want to see. Oh, okay. Well, see, hey, it's great to see you, dude. Have fun lurking. Is Warhammer a gacha game? Kind of. You mean like the tabletop? I mean, no, it's not a gacha because you can do research and buy specific things. So it's not a gacha technically. Hi, Sotek, any guess on the first DLC for champions? Yeah, it's going to be 4 Chaos champions. And they're going to be Warriors of Chaos characters. And there's going to be 1 for each Dark God. Off the top of my head, I feel extremely confident about all of them except Slaanesh. It's going to be Valkia the Bloody, Festus the Leechlord, Village the Curseling, and then it's either going to be Steercar or Dakala or Azazel. Anyway, Scarlet Doom. Scarlet Doom. Whenever a friendly Bladegeist Revenant unit makes a charge or successfully completes a charge, pick an enemy within 1 inch. If you do so, roll a number of dice equal to the number of models in the unit. For every 5 up, they take a mortal wound. Neat. It's not amazing, but if you roll a list that's very heavily built around Bladegeist, you know, that could be very good. Could be very good. The Quicksilver Dead. Quicksilver Dead. Ward saves cannot be made for wounds caused by Dreadscythe Harridan units in this subfaction. Goddamn. God damn. That is so spooky for so many armies. There are a lot of factions right now that are relying heavily on ward saves. So that would be crazy. Yeah. The Scarlet Doom makes Bladegeist battle line, and Quicksilver makes Dreadscythe battle line, which is very nice. Which we'll get into later. All right, so those are all the subfactions. We'll go ahead and go over command traits real quick. So do I really want to read all of this shit, or do I want to just start list building? No, I guess I should read it so we have like a little bit of context. So I'm just going to go very briefly over this and give like a, I like this, I don't like this. And then we'll go from there. All right. Lingering Spirit. These are command traits. So a command trait is that when you build your army, if you pick a general and it's not a special character, your general can be given a trait. So you can do one of the following. Your general has a 4-up ward save for damage inflicted by mortal wounds. That's amazing. That's great. That means your general would have a 4-up unrendable ethereal save followed by a 4-up mortal. Oh, actually, sorry. You'd have a 4-up regular save followed by a 6-up ward save most of the time. But if someone tried to get by your 4-up unrendable save by dealing you mortal wounds, you would then get a 4-up ward save against that instead, which is pretty strong. Terrifying Entity makes it where units are terrified if they're within 6 inches of your general instead of 3 inches. That has some application, but I don't think that one's very good. Ruler of the Spectral Hosts. Once per battle at the I think it's the end of your movement phase. Yeah, at the end of your movement phase, pick a single unit, summonable unit that's been destroyed. On a 4+, you can return half of that unit's starting number onto the battlefield, wholly within 12 inches of the general, more than 3 inches from any enemies. That is absolute shit. This is so bad. This is so bad. That is awful. Once per battle, you have a 50-50 chance to pick a unit that has been completely destroyed and bring it back at half strength. Awful. Absolutely awful. If that was once per battle round, that would be good. It'd still be pretty risky, but it's like, all right, I could see that working. This is absolute shit. Like, I would never take this in a million years. I would rather just like almost not have a command trait than take that. Awful. Absolutely awful. You never want an ability that is once per game and there's a chance it won't work. You know what I mean? Hatred of the Living. Reroll hit and wounds for attacks made by melee weapons, so long as the enemy does not have a death keyword. That's okay. Like, yeah, it's you never know who you're gonna be facing, so like if you know who your opponent is, that could be really strong because rerolls are extremely rare now. So like, yeah, okay, having rerolls could be pretty cool, but Spiteful Spirit. At the end of the combat phase, if you've taken any wounds that were not negated during that combat phase, roll number of dice equal to your wounds characteristic. For every 4+, all enemy units within 6 inches suffer 1 mortal wound. Amazing. This one is, it's very specific, but I'm gonna the first build I'm gonna show y'all today is built around that. And then Cloaked in Shadow. This general cannot be picked as the target of a shooting or combat attack by more than just 1 unit per phase. That's god tier. Absolute god tier. I personally, I think in the vast majority of lists, you will run either Cloaked in Shadow or Lingering Spirit. And then I think there is 1 or 2 builds that will be built around Spiteful Spirit if you're feeling really frisky. And then Hatred of the Living if you feel like gambling. The other 2 are not that great. Artifacts of Power. Okay, so these are items. These are items that you can give to your characters. So first, you have the relics. So you can give a character one of these items. Or any of the following items that I'm about to list, you can give to somebody. Cloak of the Waxing Moon. -1 to all attacks in melee that target the bearer. That's okay. I think that's a little too specific. If it was like -1 attacks for all attacks that target the bearer, that would be great. But -1 attacks for melee weapons, it's okay. It's okay. Pendant of the Fellwind. -1 to wound rolls for attacks made with melee weapons within 3 inches of this character. Amazing. That is amazing. That is so strong. That is insanely strong. Yeah. The only time this one is like, no, this is always good. Pin to the Fellwind is like, that is very, very strong. -1 wound whenever someone's in combat range with the character. Goddamn. Midnight Tome, wizard only. Once per battle, if you try to summon an endless spell, it automatically goes off with a 12. Great. And it cannot be unbound. Mwah. Mwah. For me, that is a must-have. If I'm running an endless spell, which I usually will be. If I'm running an endless spell, Midnight Tome, like if the endless spell is critical to your build, Midnight Tome is like one of the best items in the game. Like, god damn, what an item. To just be like guaranteed endless spell. Like if you can really time that cast for a critical moment, and keep your wizard alive till then, that is insanely powerful. You're basically casting with irresistible force, because of that, like a 12, but it also cannot be unbound. So even if you're fighting a Stormcast Eternal or a Free Cities army that's using that bullshit character who gets 1 free dispel per game, you'd be like, boom, I dropped this endless spell with my Midnight Tome, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna use my free unbind. You go, nope, get fucked. Or even if they have techless, you can be like, nah, suck my dick, dude. I'm casting this spell, you can't stop me. That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. Weapons of the Damned. So these are melee weapons you could take. Shadow's Edge. Pick one of the character's weapons. Whenever they make a wound roll, if the wound roll is a 6, you deal D3 mortals instead of your normal damage. That is okay. I don't think that's great. Because so the thing about playing Nighthaunt is that whenever you roll a 6 to hit, that hit automatically wounds. So any 6s you roll, you do not get to make a wound roll on. And then obviously if you need, like, most characters need 3s to hit. So that means you will also miss out on your 1s and 2s. So any 1s, 2s, and 6s you roll do not get to go onto a wound roll. So only your 3s, 4s, and 5s you get to roll on. So best case scenario, or in most scenarios, you're losing 50% of your attack dice. And then once you get to your wound roll, only on 6s does this activate. And then it prevents your damage in exchange for dealing D3 mortal wounds. So if your normal damage is 2 damage or 3 damage, but you roll a 6, you could end up just dealing a single mortal wound instead of doing a guaranteed 2 damage or a guaranteed 3 damage. I don't think this is ever worth it. I don't think Shadow's Edge is ever worth it. It's just too much gambling. I think if it was whenever you roll to hit, you automatically wound, but you deal D3 mortals instead of just a single regular wound, then it would be good. But this version, I don't think it's worth it. Meme Boy, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. Good to see you. Ikatalka, good to see you as well. Welcome. Reaper of Sorrows. Pick a melee weapon. Before you attack, pick an enemy unit within 1 inch. Roll 2d6. If the 2d6 is higher than their bravery, your rend characteristic is -3. If they are terrified, your rend is -4. This is weird. Okay, first of all, this item sucks. Don't take this item. But this item is super weird because can someone answer to me why they specify this? The only possible way your opponent could be within 1 inch of you and not be terrified is if they are a Nighthaunt player. So this item has an entire extra sentence for Nighthaunt, but Nighthaunt ignore rend, so it wouldn't work on a Nighthaunt player. So why does it say that? It is completely impossible to be within 1 inch and not be terrifying the opponent. Because if a Nighthaunt is within 3 inches of someone, they are terrified. So what idiot wrote this? Unless terror is becoming like a rule outside of the Nighthaunt book, and there are units that are going to gain immunity to terror, despite the fact that currently it only exists as a Nighthaunt rule. Like, yeah, that's future proofing, I guess, but like right now it's written very stupidly. It should just say that it's -4 rend. But this is terrible. Never take this. Because since Nighthaunt do not lower leadership anymore, 2d6 to beat leadership is pretty difficult against most stuff. Slitter. Whenever you pick the bearer to fight for the first time in a turn, before you pile in, pick an enemy model within 1 inch and roll a dice. If you roll higher than their wound, you kill them instantly. That's pretty good. It's not perfect because there are ways your opponent could avoid it. Once they know, like, because you tell your opponent you have it, and if your opponent is smart, they would just do their damnedest to make it very difficult for you to pull that off. So like make sure that they just stay an inch away from you as much as possible. So like you'd be able to use it very efficiently when you charge them. But that's good. It's not god tier, but it is good. Anything that allows you to instantly kill someone is not bad. It also allows you to pick a specific model as well, which is pretty nice. So you can actually have a pretty good chance of breaking coherency. Yeah, it's all right. Slitter, I don't see myself ever taking that, but it could be an interesting gotcha. I wish it was a 3-inch range or a 2-inch range, maybe, instead of a 1 inch. 1 inch is pretty narrow, because that means if like you don't pick that character first, your opponent you attack that unit with another unit, you could easily avoid that. But anyway, hey Aztec, what's up? Slitter is garbage against Suns. Well, Slitter is garbage against anyone that like uses a lot of characters or monsters or anything like that. Like I would never take it because it's so specific. Yeah. But like if you like knew your opponent, what your opponent was playing, it could be a good item against certain armies. Okay, last set of items. Light Shard of the Harvest Moon. Once per battle at the start of the combat phase, you can unleash this item. Add 1 attack to the melee weapons characteristic for all friendly Nighthaunts wholly within 12. Amazing. Amazing item. It's a bummer that it's only a single phase, but man, if there's a turn where you land all those big charges and you've like nuked everybody's save by spamming your charge ability, and then you unleash the Light Shard, they are fucking dead. Like they are deleted off the face of the earth. This is an incredible item. Hey Aztec, thanks so much for the Prime sub, my dude. Thank you.
Cursed Sotek spawn.
I think Light Shard of the Harvest Moon is absolutely amazing. I think this is a must-have. Like this is probably one of the best items in the book, because Nighthaunt synergize so nicely with having as many attacks as possible, because that is your most, because that improves your chances of rolling a lot of 6s, which means a lot of poison hits or whatever. Hey Val, thank you for continuing your tier 1 sub. Thank you for the 5 months. Thank you.
Cursed Sotek spawn.
Beacon of Nagashazar. I'm also here. Beacon of Nagashazar. This is Lady Allander's old command ability. So it's once per battle in your hero phase, return a single model to every summonable unit. It's all right. If you do not have Lady Allander in your army, I could see this being okay. I'm not a big fan. Soulfire Ring. At the end of the combat phase, heal up to D6 wounds if any attacks made by you slay an enemy model. I can only imagine a single scenario where this is good. And I honestly think I would rather have one of like I would rather have Pendant of the Fellwind instead of the Soulfire Ring. So like yeah, like Soulfire Ring would be good if you could use it or if it was like I would prefer if it was you heal 1 wound or D3 wounds at the end of the combat phase. Now, I mean, the good news is you can use it in the enemy's turn and your turn. The bad news is you have to kill an enemy model with that character. And then it's D6, which has a lot of variance. And like Nighthaunt players or Nighthaunt characters don't have that many wounds because every single Nighthaunt character that is not a special character has either 5 wounds or 6 wounds. So getting this to work is not easy. I don't really see. You'd have to be running a very weird build. That is, like, you have a character where you're like, okay, I'm gonna throw this guy into combat, and he must not die, but I want him to be fighting constantly. But I also have another character who's running the -1 to wound aura, because that is like always amazing, whereas this is only amazing if I land a kill. You know what I mean? So like, I feel like you should always take the -1 to wound if you're going to be constantly fighting, because that's combat range item. So that's great. Whereas the Soulfire Ring is combat range item where you have to kill someone. You know what I mean? Covetous Familiar. All enemy units that pile in within 3 inches of this character suffer a mortal wound. Very specific. My brain tells me that could be okay, because like piling in happens a lot, but I also feel like 1 mortal wound is not that big of a deal, and most people will look at your that character and just be like, okay, I just won't pile in around this guy. But I mean, I guess that's the strength, right? Is like it makes it hard. But they can also dodge it, because if they manage to pile in more than 3 inches away from you, then they dodge it. So I don't think it's very good. Do I know who King Leoric is? Of course I know who King Leoric is. I played him. A, I've beaten Diablo 3 many times, and B, I played the shit out of Leoric in Heroes of the Storm. I love King Leoric. He's like a much more action hero version of Kurdos Valentian. The Orange Pepper Streams, thanks for the follow. Hello. Witchlight Lantern, wizard only. Once per battle, you can cast 1 additional spell you do not know from the lore of the Underworlds. Amazing. Amazing. Well, Kurdos wishes he was King Leoric. Like, now, okay, if we're talking like functionality, yes, I agree. But like from a lore standpoint, like King Leoric is who Kurdos Valentian dreams he was. So Witchlight Lantern, I do wish this was like just a generic like +1 to cast all the time or something. But 1 additional spell you don't know, that could make for a hilarious gotcha moment. Because the thing that's super specific about it that I actually really like is it's 1 additional spell it does not know. So even if you have multiple wizards in your army, so like let's say you take Lady Allender and a regular wizard, right? And Lady Allender knows Shade Mist and the regular wizard doesn't. You could like cast all your spells and like draw out all of your enemies' unbinds or whatever, and it's like a really critical moment, and then be like, okay, I'm gonna use this to cast. Oh wait, no, you could not do that. No, you couldn't, because the core rules state you can't cast the same spell with 2 different wizards, right? Unless there's a specific exception. So never mind, you couldn't do that. But it still could be useful for particular spells. Not great though. It's okay. It's okay. Probably wouldn't take it. All right. Spells. All right. So our new spells, they've changed a bit. So Soul Cage is now a 7 to cast, 12-inch range. They get always strike last. Soul Cage is actually worse than it used to be, weirdly. So Soul Cage, Okay, actually, no, it's not. It's similar. So basically, Soul Cage, I think Soul Cage is basically the same, but it has lost. It used to prevent the enemy from retreating, and now it no longer does that. I do think that is fairly expensive for a 7, honestly, without the cannot retreat. So basically, Soul Cage is you pick a target and they are guaranteed always strike last until the end of the turn. Oh, that sucks, actually. That sucks. Because it's till the end of that turn. So it doesn't even last the full battle round. What the fuck? Dude, Soul Cage is garbage. Why would I ever take this? That is a terrible spell. It doesn't... Not only does it not even last the battle round, so Soul Cage in 2nd edition was it lasted until your next hero phase, and it gave them always strike last and they cannot retreat from combat. Now it's they get always strike last until the end of that turn, and all it does is give them always strike. Wow, that is shit. For a 7? Yeah, bullshit. Games Workshop, that is bullshit. Soul Cage is absolute garbage. That is absolute garbage. I would never take that. Especially because Nighthaunts can already do it themselves on their charge. Why would you ever take that? You take it with armies that always strike first? Why? Because always strike last and always strike first. If you have always strike last and always strike first, do they cancel out, or is it because they're like simultaneous effects? Whoever's turn it is gets to choose which ability takes priority. So like if I'm fighting someone and he has always strike first and I charge him with my Nighthaunt and give him always strike last, does it just go to regular order, or because it's like my turn, I say, okay, you get always strike first, and then I'm going to give you always strike last, so you actually go last. It's whoever's turn it is. Well, no, it can't be both. That's not how that works. Whoever's turn it is. Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. So why would you ever Soul Cage then? Like, the only reason you would ever Soul Cage is because you're charging someone and you don't think you're gonna get a 10+, right? Check that in the rules today. Oh, they cancel each other. It specifically states that. That's interesting. Guild Force, is that in the FAQ or is that in like the base rules? Or you're locked in combat and can't charge? I mean, you'd only... the only way you could get locked in combat with Nighthaunt is if your opponent had a way to stop you from retreating, which is super rare. Base rules? Okay. Yeah, so anyway, never take Soul Cage. It's terrible. Spirit Drain. 18 inches. Pick an enemy unit. Roll a number of dice equal to the number of models. For every 6, suffers a mortal wound. That is so much worse than what it used to be. I hate that. I hate that so much. I would have gladly taken the original Spirit Drain. This one is terrible. Spirit Drain used to be a 4. It went off on a 4. You would pick an enemy... You'd pick a single enemy model and roll a number of dice equal to their wounds characteristic, and for every 6 deal a mortal wound. It was still fairly bad, but if you were fighting something like Sons of Behemoth, it like had a reasonable chance of doing some serious damage. This is shit because every single book is becoming more expensive. Like armies are getting much smaller in 3rd edition. Every single book that comes out, their armies are getting smaller. And mortal wound on 6 is already trash anyway, so never take that. It's terrible. Life Stealer. Pick an enemy unit, deal D3 mortal wounds, heal a wound for every wound you deal. That's okay. It's all right. I think a 7 is too expensive for that spell, but it's okay. Seal of Shaiish. Range of 12. Pick a unit wholly within that range and visible. They give a 5 ward save. Great. God tier. Awesome. Amazing. Super great spell. 5 up to cast, and you. So it's Mystic Shield. It's literally just Mystic Shield for Nighthaunt. That's all it is. That's great. Awesome. The only downside is you have to pick a single wizard to know it instead of every wizard knowing it. But other than that, it's amazing. That's a must-have. Shade Mist goes off on a 6, 12 inches. Unit wholly within range, -1 to be wounded until your next hero phase. Great, awesome, God tier. Shade Mist and Seal of Shaiish. Those are the two good spells. Spectral Tether, casting value of a 4. Remove the caster from the battlefield and set it up more than 9 inches for all enemy units. That's okay. That's all right. And it's in the hero phase too. That could be interesting. That could be interesting. Especially because it has such a cheap casting value. I can't think of a situation that I would use that. Oh, that's not true. No, I can think of situations I would use that. It's very specific. It's very specific. You could do it with Allender and then Lift Veil. That's true. That's true. But I think I would rather have Shade Mist and Seal Shaiish. That being said, I could see a lot of uses for Spectral Tether. So Seal of Shaiish and Shade Mist are god tier spells. Spectral Tether is pretty good. The other 3 are absolute garbage. Like, never take. Life Stealer if you just like have a 4th wizard for some crazy reason. Battle Tactics. Chilling Ploys. Overwhelmed with Dread. When you reveal this battle tactic, pick an enemy unit. You complete this if this unit... What? You complete this tactic... Oh, these are tactics. Ugh. I was thinking grand strategies. Tactic. Pick a unit on the battlefield. You complete this if they are affected by Shriek, Stun, and Petrify by the end of this turn. Never do this. Never in a million years pick this battle tactic. That is so bad. Because that means you have to get a 10+ charge. As well as a 7+ charge. Or sorry, you have to get an 8 or higher charge and a 10 or higher charge at minimum. Along with a 5 to 7 charge. Never take that. That is so bad. That is so bad. Wow, that is amazingly terrible. That is oof. Tides of Terror. You complete this tactic if at least 2 friendly Nighthaunt units are within a ½ inch of the same enemy unit at the end of this turn. That is doable, but spooky. Because your opponent could do a lot to fuck with that. But that is doable. I think this is like a good desperate one, or if you have an opponent completely surrounded and you're like, okay, he can't get away from me. And the nice thing is you don't have to specify which units are on top of it. So like it's doable, but spooky. I would not pick this unless I knew I had somebody locked down. Mass Panic. You complete this tactic at the end of this turn if you have 3 or more enemy units on the battlefield are terrified. That's great. That's great. There are many circumstances you will accomplish that. Oh, I should change my stream to Warhammer, shouldn't I? Hold up. I'm sitting here and just chatting, and that's not technically what I'm doing. There we go. Update that. I wish I could continue watching your stream while painting my Skink Oracle on Troglodyte. Oh, nice. But it's late here and I have work tomorrow. Well, get some good rest, Freund. Thanks so much for coming tonight. Have a great night. All right. Let's see, where was I? Wait, what? Where's my... Oh, there it is. Okay. So mass panic is amazing. That means you just have to have 3 enemy units within 3 inches of friendly your Nighthaunts. That's very, very doable. Death by 1,000 cuts. You complete this tactic if an enemy hero or monster is destroyed by attacks made by friendly chain wraths or spirit hosts during this turn. Specific but doable. Specific but absolutely doable. If you get a bunch of like combo charges, chain wraths are still very, very strong. They have been substantially weakened, but considering that they have the 6s poison system, that's still absolutely doable. One stop, no return. You reveal this battle tactic, pick an objective marker on the battlefield that your opponent controls. You complete this if you take control of it and there's a black coach within 3 inches. That's pretty good if you have a black coach, because black coaches can teleport on top of objectives, which is so strong. Like, a black coach is very, very expensive, but my God, does that son of a bitch have utility, and is tanky as well. But if you have so black coaches have a teleport ability where they can teleport within an inch of an objective, which is insane. Because that means they can just, if your opponent ever leaves an objective undefended, you could just teleport directly on top of it and take it. So if you have a black coach, one stop, no return is definitely a consideration. If your opponent goofs up, yeah, they're over 300 points, but they definitely get their points worth if you have to build around them, I think, because of how expensive they are now. They are not an auto include like they were, but they do not bracket anymore. They no longer bracket, so they are fighting at maximum efficiency the entire time. They also have a 5-up ward base, and if 6 models die within, I think, like 12 inches of them, they go up to a 4-up save. And every time 6 models die around them, they can blast a nearby unit for mortal wounds, and they could do that just like an infinite number of times as long as people keep dying, which is hilarious. So like they have some wild utility. They are absolutely worth the 300 plus points in my opinion. I think they're like 330. Ceaseless Nightmares. You complete this tactic if 2 or more terrified enemies fail a battle shock test during this turn. That one is doable, but I don't think that I like that's doable, but only if you're like facing someone who you know for a fact cannot, like, they have to have fairly low bravery, or you have to be able to do a lot of damage, and you also need to make sure that they do not have a way to ignore battle shock other than the inspiring leadership, because if they're terrified, then you can ignore that or prevent them from using that. So that's pretty good. Grand strategies, they're all terrible. I'm not even gonna bother. The base grand strategies are so much better than the army specific ones in the vast majority of cases. When this battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if there are no enemy units within 6 inches of any friendly Nighthaunts that are contesting an objective. That one's doable, but it's weirdly specific. and also very easy to counter by many armies. When this battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if one or more enemy units on the battlefield are terrified. This would be good. No, well, no, it's just not. Because if your opponent goes last in the last turn, all he has to do is retreat from all your units, and he stops your grand strategy. So that's garbage. Also, if you wipe the table, you don't get it. So, yeah, no, Feed on Terror is terrible. Just because you can't guarantee that it'll work. A soul to claim. After deployment begins, or after deployment, but before the first battle round, the enemy unit with the highest wound characteristics is the target. If you kill them with a summonable unit, you get this. Too specific, and you also have to kill the tankiest thing on the opponent's table, which is often the most difficult model to kill. Dismantle the Brave. After deployment, before the first battle round begins, enemy unit with the highest bravery. Pick a unit with the highest bravery. If there's more than one, you can pick. They are the target. You complete this grand strategy if they die and your general is not dead. Stupid. These are all stupid. These are all absolutely terrible. Yeah, no, never take this. Always take one of the generic ones. That is, yeah, those are awful. Okay, I'm going to skip all this. All right. Warscrolls. Lady Allender. So Lady Allender's new thing. 7 wounds. Oh, so all Nighthaunts now have a base movement of 8. 8-inch base movement. That is so fast. That is so fast. Speed boys. Even chained rasps are movement 8. Damn, son. Also, every single thing in the army has a 4-up save, except for the chained rasp who have a 5-up save. Which, okay, someone correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like I took crazy pills. Because I swear to God that the new box set that came out, the Nighthaunt versus Dark Elf, or Daughters of Cain box set, I swear to God that when they showed off the Warscrolls, the Spirit Torment or the Chain Gas, one of them had a 5-up save instead of a 4-up save. Because I remember being angry about that. But now in the base book, they're back to having a 4-up save. Am I crazy? Honest Wargamer, hey, what's up, dude? How's it going? Anyway, and then Bravery 10, standard across the entire army, except for the Chain Rasps, who are now an 8, and they cannot improve that, which is kind of a bummer. I actually really like the rule where the unit champion made them Bravery 10, because it was kind of like a funny gimmick. But Bravery 8's not awful. It's not great, but it's not awful. There have been some changes between the Tome and the box Warscrolls. I mean, the box Warscrolls were just so bad, I feel like. Okay, so Lady Allender, 7 wounds still. She got 1 more attack. So she has 4 attacks, 3s to hit, 3s to wound, -2 rend, 2 damage. So she no longer deals D3 damage. That's great. And she has 1 extra attack. That's great. 2-inch range, good. Spectral Claws, 4s, -1/1. So she got -1 rend on her ghosties, but they also no longer deal mortal wounds on 6s to hit, which is a bummer. And she got Warmaster. Yes. Yes. Warmaster. So even if Lady Allender is not your general, she still counts as the general. Oh, that's so good. It's so good and tasty. It's so good and tasty. Grave Sands of Time. She has a 4-up ward save. God tier. Absolute God tier. So Grave Sands of Time used to be very, very specific. It used to be that you had a 6-inch range ability that in your hero phase, you could throw it at somebody to deal d6 mortal wounds to them, or you could use it on Allender to heal d6 wounds. The problem was, because it was a 6-inch range in the hero phase, the chances of you getting to use it were very, very small because most people knew Allender had it, and they would make very, very sure to be away more than 6 inches away from you. And you could only use it on heroes as well. So it was way too specific. I was not a fan. If you got to use it, it was amazing, but it was very, very hard to use. So it just giving you a flat 4-up ward save to make Allender crazy survivable. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Because that means she has a 4-up unrendable save followed by a 4-up ward save. That is so much tank. So much tank. No rest for the wicked. Once per battle at the start of your hero phase, if the unit on the battlefield, you can return d6 slain models to every summonable unit. Awesome. Absolutely awesome. And there's actually some really fucking hilarious shenanigans you can do with this. But I'll talk about later. But yeah, that's great. That's actually infinitely stronger than her original one. Her original was that it was a command ability that you had to spend a command point to return a single model to every summonable unit, which was not good. It was really bad. Because Nighthaunt, you didn't really run Nighthaunt like that in 2nd edition. So it was terrible. It could be good, but most of the time it was terrible. For this though, hilarious. And it's not a command ability either. It's just an ability. So it doesn't cost you command points anymore. It's awesome. Love it. Mortarch of Grief. Every time an enemy unit issues... Okay. Every time an enemy unit issues a command within 12 units of this unit on a 5-up, it is not received, and the command point is still spent. That is so good, but you do have to really get in their face, because it's not 12 inches from the unit receiving it, it's 12 inches from the unit giving it. And it's only on a 5-up, but like for a built-in ability, that's pretty good. Anytime someone is genuinely spooked about using a command ability, that is always really good, like psychological pressure to put on your opponent. Anytime you can mess with command points, that will mess with them. I ran Valentine in 2nd edition for his 5-up steal a command point because that genuinely scared people, and would really mess with them. So that's, great. Like if this goes off once per game, like you got hilarious value. So yeah, I don't think it's like an amazing ability because of how like it's fairly short range and it's only on a 5-up, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good. If you got it to go off, it would be hilarious. Holy shit, Hani 5D. My god, dude.
Hani 5D cheered.
Damn. Oh my god, damn. That's so many bits.
Thank you for your work. You deserve more than I can give. Every video I see from you makes me dive deeper into my hobby and gives me even more the opportunity to forget the stress and everyday life for a few minutes.
Oh, thank you. Hani, thank you. That's a very sweet message. Thank you so much. That is a super sweet message. I really appreciate that. Hey, I mean, I love doing this for you guys. I am at my happiest when I get to interact with y'all and just like and share my passion with what y'all do, which I think in the past few months I kind of forgot for a bit, or just let myself get wound up with other things. I think there was a little bit there. I kind of lost sight of that. So, but I think I'm back on that train now. So thank you very much, Hani. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for the bits. Okay. Lifting the veil. Start of your shooting phase. Pick an enemy unit within 12 inches. Roll a dice on a 2-up. They take that many mortal wounds. Add 1 to the number if they are terrified. If any enemy models are slain, heal D3 wounds per enemy model. Oh, you can't see it, but I'm pitching a tent really hard right now because of this ability. Oh my god, this is so good. Honestly, I did not think they would buff lifting the veil, but they massively buffed lifting the veil. So lifting the veil used to be in your hero phase, D6 only, and if you killed anything, you got 1 wound back. Now it is in your shooting phase, so you can move and hit someone with it. That is so good. It's so much better. The most frustrating thing about All Endurance 2nd Edition is all the lifting veils you don't get because it happened before your shooting phase. Oh, it's so nice. It's so nice. It's so strong now. So you can move first, then shoot, which is amazing. It's still a 2-up, deals mortal wounds. Amazing. It could be D6 plus 1 if they're terrified. So if you have gotten them into combat range, then so good. The only thing that's a bummer is that means you will never, that you have to either have an opponent charge you to get the +1 in your shooting phase, or you have to charge them and then get it your next turn. And then for every enemy model killed, you heal D3 wounds. God damn, dude. Like, there are so many armies. You could have Allender down to 1 wound, and if you're playing against like most armies, you could just go pew and just like, okay, I get like 4 D3 wounds back. Dude, if that was just for killing a single enemy model, you got D3 wounds back, that would be great. But the fact that it's D3 per enemy model is hilarious. That is genuinely hilarious. Grief Stricken goes off on a 18-inch range. Pick a unit with you can see within range. Subtract 1 to hit for all attacks they make. Add 1 to hit until your next hero phase. Great, it hasn't changed. Awesome. Still one of the best spells in the game. Oh, I don't like this is out of order. That actually really bothers me. I really like my shit in order, but whatever. Black Coach. 12 wounds, 4-up save, no longer brackets. So that's a huge buff to the Black Coach, is that it no longer brackets. Granted, the Black Coach bracketing was not like that big of a deal. His bracketing was pretty like minor. Like it was just like, you could be, if someone bracketed you with the Black Coach, you're like, yeah, I don't give a shit. Because like the only thing it actually did is you lost 1 attack per bracket on your Spectral Claws. That was like genuinely the only downside. And you were like a little slower, but other than that, it like nobody cared. I do think the Black Coach is he is so much stronger than he used to be. I do really miss his ability to deal out a crazy amount of mortal wounds. I used to be able to just murder people with my Black Coach. Like, so many people I fought in tournaments grossly underestimated the Black Coach's damage output, because he rolled just a ton of dice and the vast majority of his attacks would mortal wound on 6s, and that would hurt. That being said, like, he's still amazing, and he still auto wounds on 6s, which is nice. So let's see what he does now. Soul Reach Grasp, never going to take it. You should never take Soul Reach Grasp. If someone tells you to take Soul Reach Grasp, they're trying to sell you something, or they're mean. Don't ever take it. Always take the Reaper Scythe. It's not worth it. That shooting attack is way too unreliable, so you should never take it. Reaper Scythe. So the Reaper Scythe got +1 attack, but we have lost Reap Like Corn, which is a shame. I did really like Reap Like Corn, which I think only Reikenor has that now. No, it's not Reikenor. It's somebody has it. I don't remember who it is. Somebody has it. There's like it's like a single rule now. Okay, so the Black Coach, 4 attacks, 3s, -2, 2. Great. 9 attacks from the Spectral Claws, 4s and 4s, -1, 1. Awesome. 8 attacks from the horse. Okay, so he has the exact same combat profile. Actually, no, the Reaper Scythe is better. The Reaper Scythe used to be 4s to hit, 3s to wound. Now it's 3s to hit, 3s to wound, and it got 1 extra attack. So, honestly, I think that's a better trade. Like, I think the Black Coach losing rerolls against units with 5 or more models, but he gets +1 attack and a permanent +1 to hit from his old profile. I think that's a net positive. I think. Okay, we'll come back to Evocation of Death because it's a little weird, but in substantial form, this unit has a permanent 5-up ward save. Amazing. Amazing. So good. So good. A permanent 5-up ward save. So he's basically a character. Like he is a totem. He is a totem, so he can issue command abilities at an 18-inch range, mind you. But like, so the only problem the Black Coach had in 2nd edition was that he had to babysit him. You no longer have to babysit him. He does have a very big downside, though, that we'll point out in a moment. Nimbus of Power. Instead of picking this unit to make a normal move or retreat, you could say he will travel the underworlds to a new location. If you do so, remove him from the battlefield and set him up more than 1 inches from all terrain and objectives and more than 9 inches from all enemy units. That is one of the strongest abilities in the game. That is so obscenely powerful of an ability that I don't even have the words. Because here's the thing. That means if your opponent ever walks away from an objective and you have a Black Coach on the table, if he is not standing on that objective to make sure that he keeps you 9 inches away, your Black Coach can instantly teleport and take it. Because 1 inch from an objective means 1 inch from the center of an objective, not 1 inch away from the like entire thing. No, just the center. So the Black Coach is one of the best objective stealing models in the entire game. And you have a battle tactic where if the Black Coach steals an objective from your opponent, you also can take a battle tactic from that. So like, if you start your turn and you see your opponent has left an objective unguarded, or you've managed to kill everyone on it or something, you can not only take the objective instantly, but score an immediate Black Coat or an immediate battle tactic. That is amazing, which it needs to be because he is ludicrously expensive. Runaway Coach. Whenever this unit makes a charge move, pick an enemy within an inch on a 2-up, they take D3 mortal wounds. Okay, that's all right. You know, mortal wounds is never bad. Okay, so let's talk about Evocation of Death. This one's kind of weird. So Evocation of Death. When you set this model up, put a D6 next to it that has a 1. Every time an enemy model dies or flees within 12 inches, increase the value of this by 1 to a maximum of 6. If you ever get to a 5 or 6, then you have a 4-up ward save instead of a 5-up ward save. Once per turn in your shooting phase, if the value of the dice beside this unit is a 6, you can say it will unleash its stored necromantic energy. If you do so, pick an enemy unit within 12 and roll a dice. On a 2+, they suffer 3d3 mortal wounds. Damn. And then it resets. So here's the thing. For the purpose of winning games, I think the Black Coach is substantially more powerful than he used to be. However, when it comes to his survivability and his ability to like duel other models on the table, I genuinely think that he is a lot weaker. I think he has been massively debuffed. Honey, good. Have a good night, my dude. Thanks so much for the bits again and the sweet message. I appreciate that, man. Have a good night. Because so the way the Black Coach used to work is that when you started a battle round, you'd roll 3 dice, and on a 4-up, you gain a power level. If you got a single 4+ on one of those 3 dice, that meant for the rest of the game, in your hero phase, no matter where the Black Coach was on the table, he automatically healed D3 wounds, which made him a significantly more survivable piece. One of the things I've noticed with the Nighthaunt is that we have significantly less healing than we used to. Nighthaunt used to be the healing army. That was our gimmick. The thing that Nighthaunt did was that we healed. We had characters who could heal with abilities. We had the Black Coach could heal itself. We had a command trait that brought resurrected models. We had spells that resurrected models. We had spells that healed lords or heroes. Like, we were all about healing. The one thing we could not do, like other death armies, is that we could not resurrect dead units. So if a unit died, you were fucked. You couldn't do anything to bring it back, like Soulblight Gravelords, or and you couldn't like bring new units on the battlefield like Flesh Eater Courts. However, we were really good at healing. The only thing that I'm kind of scared about with this new book is that we are no longer good at healing. We are pretty bad at it now, actually. Like you could spam some really there is still good healing for units, but it is significantly less. And we've lost the ability to heal characters. The only like good heal the army has now is for units through the Spectral Lure or the Spirit Torment, or you have to take a Mortalis Terminexus. Which I think they kind of understand that, which is why they gave us the once per game you can automatically summon an endless spell and nothing can stop it. I think the whole reason they give you that is because if you take a Black Coach or you take like a good amount of characters, you don't have the ability to heal them at all. Allender can heal herself like crazy. Like Allender's got insane self heals, but like Valentian can't heal. None of the special characters can heal, except for Allender. The Guardian of Souls, none of the characters even can heal themselves, except for the Knight of Shrouds, and he can only heal himself like 1 wound per turn, or per battle phase if he's fighting, and that's it. Like there's no character heals unless you use a Mortalis Terminexus, which I think is going to honestly be a requirement for most Nighthaunt armies if they want survivability to be their focus. So like I am definitely going to miss that aspect of Nighthaunt. Nighthaunt are significantly more aggressive now, but in kind of the trade that we're paying for that is we are significantly less tanky, with the exception of Lady Allender. Like Lady Allender is like insanely more tank now, but everything else in the army is substantially squishier because the sheer amount of healing that we have has been cut down by like at least 75%. Every type of it. Like when it comes to healing units, Spectral Lure now only does a flat d6 no matter what. It no longer does 2d6 on Chain Rasps. We don't have Lord of the Spirit Host anymore for a guaranteed d3 every turn. We are so much squishier as an entire army. So that's gonna be weird to get used to. Like Nighthaunt are very Nighthaunt are not going to be an army where you can play like, oh, I'm going to like when I played Nighthaunt in 2nd edition, I would the way I was winning most of my games, like I had a very, very high win to loss ratio with my Nighthaunt in 2nd edition. After Bellacor's book came out, at the end of 2nd edition, or sorry, once we hit 3rd edition, I'll put it that way. Once we hit 3rd edition, I was winning a shitload of games with my Nighthaunt. Like, I took 1st place at the local tourney and was usually in the top 5 or top 4 with my Nighthaunt. But the way I was playing is that I would make a Death Star that was pretty much impossible to kill unless I really screwed up. Like, unless my opponent just got really, really lucky or I did something really dumb, then my army was like basically unkillable. And I would just like float between objectives and try to bait my opponent into like coming at me. But it had some notable weaknesses in that, like, if I got a battle plan where there was like more than like 4 objectives, there were like 6 objectives, then I really couldn't like do anything to contest them, because if any of my units left that 12-inch bubble, they would just die. And so like overall, I think the new book is very, very good for Nighthaunt, because now the army can actually like compete or like contest the entire table instead of just like the little Death Star. And like the Death Stars kind of still exist, though it's not nearly as powerful as it used to be. The only thing I'm worried about is like, well, I guess it's all right. I mean, you still have heroic actions, so you can still spam heal your characters using heroic actions, so that's nice. Anyway, let's carry on. Reikenor the Condemned. Reikenor, 7 wounds, 14-inch movement. Ooh, boy, what a fast boy. Cast 1, unbind 1. He has 5 attacks now with a 2-inch reach instead of 4 attacks. He has 3s and 3s, -2 damage. Great. Corpse Candle is the exact same. Pick an enemy unit within 12 inches, deal a mortal wound. You get +1 to cast, or pick yourself and deal 3. Grim Justice, so this is new. +1 to hit and wound if you are targeting a priest or a wizard. That's specific, but that is also like a lot of things. Like, that is every single support character in the game, with very few exceptions. So that means he has 2s to hit, 2s to wound, -2/2 with 5 attacks. Against priests and wizard. That's pretty fucking good, to be honest. Like, he has a very, very high chance. Like, he's basically a sniper with that. Like, Reikenor seems very specifically designed. You just yeet his ass against a support character that you see on the enemy table, and he will snipe their ass. Because if he rolls, like, if you send in Reikenor and he rolls an 8+, you can reduce their save by 1. So he functionally is reducing their save by 3. Hitting 2s and 2s at 2 damage. Like, there's a very high chance he's going to put through like 8 wounds on -3. That will kill most support characters in the game. Because like the vast majority of support characters only have like a 5-up save, or at best a 4-up save. So if Reikenor can get that -1 to their save, they just won't have a save, and he will probably kill them. In the vast majority of circumstances, unless you roll really poorly. Wraithstorm, still pretty good. Casting value of 7. Pick an enemy unit. They suffer D3 mortal wounds. If a single model dies, they take another D3 mortal wounds. That's really good. It's really good. Oh, interesting. Reikenor counts. Whoa, what? Huh. I did not notice that until just now. So Reikenor and Kurdos have the Grieving Legion keyword, which is weird because that doesn't do anything. I feel like that's like a lore thing, because Grieving Legion has 0 effect unless the unit in question has 10 or more models. So on characters, it does absolutely nothing. So I like lore, I guess. And none of the other sub-factions affect characters. So I don't know. Weird. But yeah, Reichenor's really good. Kurdos Valentian. Oh, my boy. My boy. He has a 2-inch reach now with the Sepulchral Scepter. It used to be a 1-inch reach, if I remember. Was it? I'm pretty sure it was a 1-inch reach before. 2-inch reach, 5 attacks, 3s to hit, 3s to wound, -3 rend, 3 damage. Good God. That man, Valentian has been pumping weight, dude. Does it lock them out of armies besides that sub-faction? No, you can still take them. It just means they would not get any abilities or traits that apply to that specific sub-faction. Which doesn't matter for Nighthaunt. God damn, dude. Valentian has been at the gym. Valentian has been pumping iron every day since 2nd edition, apparently. God, that is scary. -3 rend at 3 damage. Ooh. Ooh. If I cannot rule, none shall rule. Okay. Oh, wow. Valentian lost a lot of his special rules. He's actually very simple now, which is kind of a bummer. But if I cannot rule, none shall rule. Start of every battle round. After you get your command points, roll a dice. Add 1 to the roll if Valentian is within 6 inches of an enemy hero. On a 5-up, subtract 1 from their command points and add 1 to your own. Okay, so Valentian actually got pretty heavily nerfed as far as like his utility. Because it used to be that Valentian would do it every hero phase because the command point he would try to steal was specifically the one that was generated by your opponent's general, which I think I preferred that one because it felt very thematic for him, like screwing with the enemy general. Was that every hero phase he would try to steal it on a 5-up, and it also meant if you killed the enemy general, then he couldn't do it anymore, which I always thought was very thematic. This one, like, it's more likely to go off. Well, I don't know. I'm not that great at statistics. Like, I would assume it's better to do 10 5+ rolls than it is to do. Yeah, no, that's definitely true. It's better to do 10 5+ rolls than it is to do 5 rolls, one of which has to be a 5-up, and the rest of which are either a 5-up or a 4-up. Yeah. The good news is this means that the way it's worded, if you roll that 5-up, you always get a bonus command point. The bad news is you only get it for the battle round. You only get 1 per battle round instead of potentially 2 per battle round. Which is unfortunate. Yeah, his utility was nerfed quite a bit. I still like him though. The new boy, Ulrock the Drowner. He has a 10-inch move, 7 wounds. I thought he'd be a little tankier than that considering how big he is. But 7 wounds, 4-up save. He has a 3-inch reach. Damn, all right, son. 3-inch reach, force attacks, 3s to hit, 3s to wound, -2 rend, D3 damage. That's pretty good. It's not amazing, but it's pretty good. Passage through the underworld. You can use this command. Okay, it's a command ability. It's like one of the only command abilities we've seen. Command ability. Start of your movement phase. Pick a friendly Nighthaunt unit on the battlefield that's visible. Remove this unit from the battlefield. Set it up again on the battlefield more than 9 inches from enemies. Remove that Nighthaunt unit and do the exact same thing, except for they have to be within 12 of him. Wow. Hios, thanks so much for being here, dude. Have a good one. Oh, sorry, I missed. Harzulian boy, good to see you. Welcome to the stream. Vigario Pro, are the horses of the Black Coach skeletons or ghosts? They're ghosts. They're 100% ghosts. They look skeletal, but they are 100% ghosts. No part of them is flesh. Wow, that reposition is super fucking strong. Oh, he's a totem. Okay, so he has an 18-inch range too. That is really, really good. Pick a unit anywhere on the battlefield as long as you can see them, and teleport them and Alrock to anywhere on the table. Whew! That's pretty dirty. That is pretty damn dirty. That's a really good utility ability. Scything Ram. When this unit charges, pick a unit on a 2-up, they deal D3 mortal wounds. If you kill someone, add D3 attacks to your ore. Hilarious. Not crazy useful, but hilarious. Wow, he's really strong, actually. Alrock is not messing around. That's a very, very good character. He's awesome. Cruel Gas Cruciator. Is the exact same. If this unit is within 12 units of any terrified units, -1 damage. Damn. So he no longer has to shoot people to trigger his effect, and his effect is absolutely terrifying. So if he, wow, oh my god. If he's within 12 inches of a combat, then he makes all enemy units in that combat -1. He turns, if he's within 12 inches of an enemy unit and they're fighting the Nighthaunt, he turns the Nighthaunt into Seraphon. Mortal Seraphon. That is hilarious. That is so strong. That is so good. Spirit Torment. 3 attacks. Okay, he has 3s to hit, 3s to wound now. Oh wow, he got really nerfed. Does that say he does 1 damage? Wow, that sucks. The Spirit Torment got really nerfed. Damn. He used to do D3. So it's 3 attacks, 3s to hit, 3s to wound, -2 rend, 1 damage. That is lame. That is pathetic damage. Into the combat phase, pick a summonable unit within 12, give them 3 wounds. Or give them 3 wounds worth of models. Oh, that's good. Alright. No, it sucks that it's summonable units now. It used to just be all Nighthaunt, so he could heal characters too. But now it's just, units, but it's a guaranteed 3, which is really strong. So he's a pure utility character now, and it no longer has the ability to bonk people. That sucks. I really enjoyed the D3 wounds because he could actually put out a surprising amount of damage if you rolled high. Yeah, the Spirit Torment is wow, he is way shittier than he used to be. He also doesn't give any bonuses other than the healing. Yeah, he is pretty bad compared to his old self. Chain Gas. Pretty much the same. Their combat stats are worse because they used to do amount of attacks equal to the number of enemies within 2 inches. Now it's just 2 attacks. So they are way shittier at combat. +1 to hit rolls made by friendly Nighthaunts wholly within 12. While there is a Spirit Torment on the battlefield. I really don't like that. I really, really, really do not like that. So that means in order to get, like, I really don't like that. That sucks. So you have to pay for the Spirit Torment and the Chain Gas to get the bonus you want. And if the Spirit Torment dies, the Chain Gas become completely useless. I don't like that. I think that's terrible. Like that, I don't like that at all. I think that's like That I don't like that.
Another wretched foul lizard thing joins the red host. Cursed Sotek spawn.
6 months. Glad to be here. You make my days better less than 3.
Hey, Simon Zek, thanks so much. Thank you for the 6 months and the sweet message. I really appreciate it. Hope you're doing well, man. I mean, that +1 to hit seems like it's really good. Depending on, I don't know how many plus to hits we have in the army. So far, not many. But yeah, that's rough. Like I really preferred the old system where it was the Spirit Torment had the bonus to hit, and then the Chain Gas extended the aura. I think that would still have been better. Knight of Shrouds. 5 attacks, 3s. Okay, so you got another attack, I think. 3s, -1/2. At end of the combat phase, if you killed a model, heal a wound and get +1 wound characteristic. Interesting. So you go from 5 to 6 or 6 to 7. Huh. Okay. Spectral Overseer. Once per battle round, this unit can use redeploy or unleash hell for free. And in the combat phase, when you pick this unit to fight, you can pick a summonable unit held within 12 and they can fight at the same time. That's okay. I guess. That's alright. Knight of Shrouds on Ethereal Steed. It's the exact same, except for he could pick all-out attack for free. I have a really cool idea for this guy. Tomb Banshee. Oh, she has a shooting attack now instead of it being an ability. D3 attacks, 12 inches, force to hit, force to wound, -1 or -2 burn, 1 damage. What? That's supposed to be a Banshee scream? Get the fuck out of here. Wow, that's super lame. 2 attacks, 3s, -2/2. That's all right. Let's see. Something about the charge phase. Pick a unit within... Okay, I think it's at the start of the charge phase. Pick a unit within... Or no, it's probably at the end of the charge phase. But in the charge phase, pick a unit within 12 inches of this model. Add 1 to the cost. Oh, add 1 to the roll for something on a 4+
Peasant! Peasant!
Rude. On a ooh. Okay, so I can't read exactly what it says about the how you get a +1.
Cheered. X100. Now that you are a Leaks channel, what will your conspiracy model / lore development thing be? Like how Primarchs are the thing for Valrak.
What's my conspiracy model / lore development? My big thing is always going to be that Gotrek will become the god of fire, which I want to happen so bad, and that he should be added to the Fire Slayer book and stop being a bullshit mercenary character. They need to know mercenaries are dumb. They should not do that. Okay, so if I understand the Tomb Banshee, you pick a unit on a 4+, it costs them an extra command point to issue commands to a unit that you pick. And there's a way to make that a 3+, but I don't know what it is. There's some condition to make it a 3+. Man, that is really nasty, but also very it's very dice heavy. And she's very squishy, and most people are going to really not like her and probably nuke her. And her combat abilities suck. I don't think that's that good. Like, I could see that being annoying if you get it to work, but I think making that work is too difficult for the reward. It's okay. Yeah, it's all right. I don't think I would ever take a Banshee. Karen Wraith. Eager Death Dealers. The attack characteristic is equal to... Okay, what the... Okay, how... What... So the number of models within 3 inches is how many attacks you get, but your range is only 2 inches. 3s to hit, 3s to wound, -1 rend, 2 damage. That could be really, really strong. I mean, 3 inches to determine your number of attacks, that could be pretty spooky. But I don't think anyone will ever take that, just because, like, it's too conditional. Lord Executioner, 3 attacks, 3s, -2, 2. Have a permanent 5-up ward save. In the combat phase, pick an enemy unit within 3 inches. Give them -1 to wound rolls until the end of that phase. That is okay. It's stronger than it used to be, but it's not great. It's okay. Guardian of Souls. 3s to hit. How? Okay, what the fuck? How does the Guardian of Souls have a better combat profile than the Spirit Torment? GW. How dare you do my Spirit Torment dirty like this? How dare you do my Spirit Torment dirty like this? That is so not cool. God damn, dude. How is this guy stabbing you with a sword do more damage than this guy who's hitting you with like these fucking dwarf-sized padlocks? Come on. Anyway. Nightmare Lantern. +1 to wound rolls for all melee weapons wholly within 12 inches. Hey, that's great. I'm glad we get to keep that. Spectral Lure. 6 inches, 24, or sorry, cast on a 6, 24 inches, heal D6 wounds. Nice. Dreadblade Harrow. 12-inch move, 4 attacks, 3s, -1, 2. At the end of your movement phase, you can remove this unit from the battlefield and set it up more than 1 inch away from... Oh my god, he has the oh my god, he has the Black Coach thing. Oh Jesus. Oh Jesus. So he can auto take objectives and he's a hero. Ooh, yikes. Curse of Loyalty. Once per battle round, if your general issues a command, this character can copy it without a command point being spent. What? Rob Bob, good to see you. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing well. Huh? Dude, Dreadblade Hero is god tier. Are you kidding me? Oh my god, dude. If you take Lady Ollander and you have a Dreadblade Hero... Oh wait, no, it's not a command ability though, is it? No. But that, I mean, that's... Oh, you know what you could do? You know what you could absolutely do? Dude, if you take Allrock the Drowner and you have a Dreadblade Hero... If you have multiple Dreadblade Heroes, could you copy the same command ability multiple times? Because that means, so at minimum, if you have a Dreadblade Hero on the field and you have Allrock the Drowner, you could tell Allrock to teleport. Allrock picks a unit to teleport with him. And then the Dreadblade Hero could copy it to teleport himself and also teleport another Nighthaunt unit. So you could teleport 4 things to a different part of the battlefield. And if that stacks, if you had like, you could teleport another unit for every Dreadblade Hero you have. Yeah, that's true. That's true. You could also have multiple all-out attacks for free. Wow, the Dreadblade Hero is nuts. Very good character. Nagash, I'm gonna skip because like Nagash is good. Like he's always good. Briar Queen, terrible. Skip. Hex rates. One-inch range. Oh, that's a bummer. They only have a 1-inch range. 2 attacks, 3s, -1/1. Wow, that is super underwhelming. 2 wounds each. Whenever they charge on a 2-up, deal D3 mortals. Start of your movement phase, you can Phantasmal Advance. Double your movement, but you cannot charge. Okay, so hex rates are way worse than they used to be. Hex rates are way worse than they used to be. So they can no longer move through units for free damage. They get a single D3 mortal wounds if they charge on a 2-up. They don't have Reap Like Corn or anything like that. Am I crazy or are hex rates just kind of bad? Dreadscythe Harridans. Oh, dang. You can only have 1 unit champion per unit instead of 2. You retreat and charge for the mortal wounds. But that's not that great, though. Why? If you're going to run a retreat and charge list, wouldn't it be better to run Bladegeist Revenants with the sub faction where it's a 5-up per model deals a mortal wound, which I bet they're cheaper than the hex rates, or at least about the same price. Like the hex rate's damage output is just pitiful. Two attacks, 3s and 3s on a cavalry unit. At max, you're dealing like Dreadscythe Harridans. Unit champion. Murderous Bloodlust. +1 to hit, +1 to wound for attacks made with melee weapons if you're within 6 inches of enemy models that have suffered a wound, or 6 inches of any enemy units that have lost a model. Woo. 4 attacks. Good lord. 3s and 3s, no rend. Subtract 1 from wound rolls made by enemies within 3 inches. That's really strong. Yeah, so the thing that Goat Force, the thing that they lost that is really important was the ability to move through people while dealing mortal wounds simultaneously. That was like their gut punch, in my opinion. Man, Dreadscythe Harridans. God damn, that is a lot of attacks, dude. 4 attacks per model. Damn. The only thing I don't like is that their base is 4 and 4. I think it used to be 4 and 3. Or maybe it was 4 and 4 and 6s exploded. Something like that. Like, the thing I like about the Dreadscythe Harridan is that they perform very nicely on their own. Like, giving the enemy -1 to wound them when they charge, that is really strong, because it means if the Dreadscythe Harridan gets a 6 or a 5 through 7 on the charge, they would give themselves -1 to hit and -1 to wound. That is pretty good. The only downside is it only lasts for that combat phase, but that's still pretty devastating. And if you run Quicksilver Host, that also means they ignore ward saves. Seems like they have very, very good potential. I'm just not a huge fan of the force to hit, force to wound base, because that means that best case scenario, you're giving them 3s and 3s, which isn't awful, but like that's, you know, for competitive play, that tends to be kind of below what most people are aiming for. Most people are like reaching for 2s and 2s once you have buffs, but at the same time, they're very, very likely to stay at 3s and 3s, but they also don't have rend at all. So the only way they're piercing armor is if you charge, and you get like an 8 or a 9 to reduce their save. Otherwise, they're not going to be punching through armor. Interesting. Very interesting. Glaive Wraith Stalkers. 1 attack each. Didn't they used to have 2 attacks? 1 attack each, force to hit, 3s to wound, -1 rend. Oh, 2 damage though. Okay, 2 damage each. -1 rend. How do Glaive Wraith Stalkers not have rend, or have -1 rend, but Dreadscythe Harridans have no rend? That's strange. I feel like if Dreadscythe Harridans had -1 rend base, I feel like they would be like amazing. Having no rend at all makes me nervous. Start your first hero phase. If this unit's on the battlefield, pick a unit to be its prey. After this unit makes a normal move, if you ended closer to your prey than you started, add +3 to your charge rolls. Damn. Also, for every 1 in every 4 models can be a drummer. If you have a drummer, add another plus. Wow, so they have +4 to their charges. Jesus, that is a long range charge, my boy. If they're super cheap, like if it's like a unit of 4 is very cheap, I actually think Glaive Wraith Stalkers have some mileage, dude. Like, considering that with Nighthaunt, you want to have as many charges as possible onto an enemy, so you can try and stack the -1 save. And these guys can get a guaranteed charge, because like if you put them 3 inches away, they have a 4-inch charge if they ended closer to their target. That's, I think Glaive Wraith Stalkers actually have some pretty good potential. Spirit Hosts. Okay. Or Glaive Wraith, okay. 6s, 4s and 4s. Okay, they're just the same. Or you allocate a wound or a mortal wound to a hero instead of making a ward save or a mortal. Wait, instead of making a ward roll for a wound or mortal wound, if you're within 3 inches of a Spirit Host on a 3, you can pass it. Oh, that's so good. They're 105 points for Stalkers. Oh, that's a bummer. If they were 90 points, I'd be totally in. I would be totally in. Dude, Spirit Hosts are fucking amazing. Holy shit. They have a 3-up bodyguard save. Like, I'm not gonna spam them, but considering how squishy Nighthaunt characters are, having a 9 wound bodyguard, that is fucking awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's great. Oh, Grimghast Reapers are still only movement 8. That's a bummer. 2 attacks each, 4s to hit, 3s to wound, -1 rend, 1 damage. Death Knell no longer has its bizarre ability. It's 2 attacks though now. Oh, but it's 4s to hit? Bullshit. 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 The unit champion used to be 3s and 3s with 1 attack, 2 damage. Now it's 2 attacks, 4s and 3s, D3 damage? That sucks. Wow, Grimcast Reaper's champion is way worse now. Add 1 to the attack characteristic. Whoa, I'm sorry, excuse me? +1 attacks? But only to the slasher scythe. That sucks. Bro, the unit champion got hard nerfed. The unit champion got super nerfed. It used to be 2 inches, 1 attack, 3s and 3s, -1 rend, 2 damage, and if you killed a model, he would deal a mortal wound to a target of your choice within like 6 inches. Like, if you get really fucking lucky, you can get a better output than that. But 2 attacks, 4s and 3s to do D3 wounds? Yeah, no, fuck that. That's terrible. But the I like, why would I take a unit? Would y'all take a unit champion? Do you think it's worth it? Well, I mean, I guess it is notably better than a slasher scythe. Yeah. The only thing that really frustrates me is that Reap Like Corn doesn't apply to the unit champion. It only applies to the slasher scythes. That's annoying. But hey, that honestly, Grimcast Reapers are still pretty hype. So if it's a unit of 3 or 5 or more models, they have 3 attacks each. Not bad. Not bad. Bladegeist Revenants. 2 attacks, 3s, 3s, -1, 1. +1 attack if you charge. Great. Awesome. No complaints. Great. Chain Rasps. Bravery 8 now. No longer can get to Bravery 10. 1 inch range. 2 attacks each. 4s and 4s. If you charge, you get +1 to wound. Oof. That hurts. That hurts a lot. Chain Rasps used to be my favorite unit because they were so strong. And now they are not. Man, no more rerolls to hit, no more rerolls to wound, no more 2d6 heals instead of d6 heals. That's rough. That is very rough. And they only get +1 to wound if they charge. I mean, I guess that's all right because it means if you charge out of range of the +1 to wound aura on the Guardian of Souls, it's not as it doesn't punish you at all anymore. Wow, that's rough. Mirrormorn Banshees, 2 attacks, 4s, 3s, -2? 2 damage? Is that -2 or -1? They look okay. I think I've heard that they still have the 12-inch dispel, but they no longer get buffs from it, but it also no longer hurts them if they dispel a endless spell, so that's neat. Craven Throne Guard. Spectral Bolts. Target enemy unit even if they're not within line of sight. Also, they cannot take cover. You can have a standard bearer. For if you have a standard bearer, if you use a command ability to restore models, they come back on a 5 instead of a 6. One model can have +1 attack for their melee attack. 12-inch range with a crossbow. How absolute dog shit do you have to be with a crossbow to have a 12-inch range? Chain gas are whirling trains around their heads and throwing them at people, and they have a 15-inch range, but my crossbow bolts have a 12-inch range? What is this bullshit? They should have like a 20-inch range. 2 attacks, 4s to hit, 4s to wound, -1 rend, 1 damage. Okay, so there's... Frightful Touch. Okay, so Frightful Touch does work on ranged attacks. Interesting. You can give them a +1 to hit with all out attacks. They'd be hitting on 3s. There's nothing you could do to improve their wound roll, because all of the +1s to wound are only combat for Nighthaunt. Let's see. Does Lady... They throw the quarrels? I believe you. That would actually make a lot of sense. Let's see. Grief Stricken is melee only. Jesus, why is the vast majority of this just like ads? All right, there we go. So, Craven Throne Guard or... They don't make sense. I think the way I would put it. They don't... If the Spectral Bolt ignored Lookout Sirs, that might be a little interesting. Or if they dealt mortal wounds on 6s. Or if they did 2 damage. Or if they had a 20-inch range. Like, I don't understand the design of this unit. Because the design is... hold on, how many do I get for how much? 5? I get 5 for 115 points? Are you fucking for real? That is some bullshit. Wow, that is a garbage unit. That is the worst fucking unit in the game. Are you kidding? Are you absolutely joshing me right now? Five models with a 12-inch range. Okay, okay. Let me make sure I understand this properly. You get 5 models, and their unique gimmick is that they're the one unit in your army that have a bonus to resurrection. So the one unit that should not be in combat has a bonus to if they take damage. Do they have 2 wounds each? Am I missing something? I can't see their wounds. Are they 1 wound each or 2 wounds each? If they're 2 wounds each, maybe I could see something. Like, you don't want to charge them into combat because they suck at fighting. They have a Why do they have this? Why don't my horde unit have this? Shouldn't the chained rasps have the ability that if you rally them, they come back on a 5-up instead of a 6-up? Like, I guess because it's a ranged unit, they're like, oh, you probably won't be in combat, so you're more likely to use rally on them. Am I crazy? This unit is awful. It's so bad. It's super short range with very few attacks, very little rend, very little damage, very inaccurate with a poor chance to wound. Why would you ever take this? Like, honestly, I was going to buy the Arena of Souls box. It's been on hold for me at my local store. I just haven't had time to go get it. I think I'm going to call them and tell them just put it on the shelf. I'm not buying this. I'm not paying for this. This unit sucks. No, thank you. Garbage. Oh, I noticed the Scriptor Mortis I don't actually have him in this list. They're 1 wound. Yeah, no. Absolute shit unit. Don't, like, Games Workshop, do better, man. If you're gonna release a new mini, like, at least make it playable. Wow. And the Scriptor Mortis is, like, a really gimmick. Like, he really has a chance to nuke somebody, but it has a very, 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 very low chance of working throughout the game. And you can only do it once per enemy character. And it takes a long time to set up, and if the character dies, it no longer works. Or if Scriptor Mortis dies, it gets canceled. And, like, I actually have a lot of really good heroes I want to take. The Scriptor Mortis, unless he's, like, insanely cheap, I don't think I would take him. Of course, I forgot to... Whatever. Mortalis Terminexus. Casting range of value of 6 and a range of 12 inches. It's a predatory endless spell, moves 8 inches. If you reverse time, heal D3 wounds to everyone within 6. If you hasten time, deal D3 on a 2-up to everyone within 6. Awesome. Awesome. Mortalis is the exact same. Hallelujah. Still one of the best endless spells in the game. I have won so many games with this. Vault of Souls. 6, range of 6. Moves 8. Whenever it moves, roll a dice for every model within 6. Add 1 to the roll if they are terrified. On a 6-up, they take a mortal wound. Keep track of the amount. If the total is 10 or more at the end of any phase, roll a dice for every unit within 6. Add 1 if they are terrified. On a 2-up, okay, so if you pick a terrified unit, it's guaranteed. But on a 2-up, a unit suffers a number of mortal wounds equal to the roll. Ow. Oh no, so it... Would it be guaranteed? Or would it just be on a 1 it fails, but on a 2-up you get +1? That's weird. That's not good, unfortunately. I wish that was good, but it's not. The Shyish Reaper. 6, summoning range of 6. You gotta move it to that unique way. Oh, there's the Scriptor Mortis. He's at the very end. Okay. Predatory. Yep. Flies. Yep. After this endless spell has moved, roll 2 dice for every unit you pass across. And every unit within 1 inch when it lands. Add 1 to the roll if they're terrified. For every roll that is equal to or greater than their save, deal D3 mortal wounds. That's pretty strong. I think it is. That is very strong. It's conditional, but because it gets a +1 to terrified units, especially, and you can actually very carefully control where it goes. It's pretty good. Pretty good. Scriptor Mortis. 3 attacks, force 3s, -1/1. Okay, so he has the absolute worst combat profile out of all the characters. Once per phase, allocate a wound to this to any summonable unit within 6. Okay, so he's fairly hard to snipe. Hero phase. Record a unit of an enemy that does not have the death keyword and is visible. At the start of any following hero phases, roll a dice. If the roll is less than... Oh, it's not less than or equal to, it's less than the number of the current battle round, they suffer 2d6 mortal wounds and cannot be picked again. Okay, so let me get this straight. The Scriptor Mortis on turn 1, you would pick an enemy hero unless you're fighting a death army, in which case he is completely and utterly fucking useless. So assuming you do not get a death opponent, you pick an enemy across the table, an enemy hero. So it can't be just like a monster, it has to be a character. Pick a character. You cannot do anything on turn 1. On turn 2, in your hero phase, you have to roll a 1. Turn 3, you have to roll a 1 or a 2. Turn 4, you have to roll a 1, 2, or 3. And turn 5, you have to roll a 1, 2, 3, or 4. If the Scriptor Mortis dies at any point, this ceases to happen, or this ceases to do anything. If you get super lucky, you will roll one of those numbers in your hero phase and deal 2d6 mortal wounds, which could be anywhere between 2 to 12, but you'll average 7, which is pretty good, but you cannot hit that character again. So, best case scenario, absolute best case scenario, turn 1 you do nothing. Turn 2 you roll a 1 and deal 2d6 mortal wounds. Turn 3 you have to pick a new character. Turn 4 you roll a 1, 2, or 3 and deal 2d6 mortal wounds. Turn 5 you pick a new character, and then at the end of the battle round or end of the game, you automatically get to hit that last character. That is the absolute best case scenario. The more likely scenario is you pick a character on turn 1, it does nothing on turn 2. If you're very lucky, it will hit them on turn 3. You switch it on turn 4, it does nothing on turn 5. Or actually, no. If you were to switch it on turn 4, it would be a 1 through 4. It works. If it was not for the fact that it cannot work on death, I could justify taking 1. But because it is not possible to take him against, or he does literally nothing other than that. Man, that's a bad design. That's really, really bad design competitively. Like for fluff, that's a fun character. But for like competitive play, that is an absolutely terrible character. Because if you draw up against a death opponent, he does absolutely nothing. He has no buffs, no debuffs. He doesn't interact with your other units. He's a character snipe that does not work against a quarter of the allegiances in the game. If you go up against Nighthaunt, Soulblight Gravelords, Flesh-Eater Courts, or Ossiarch Bone Reapers, you're totally fucked. You just wasted... How many points is the Scriptor Mortis? Mm. 155 points? Get the fuck out of here. Man, that's such a bummer. That's a huge bummer. So both of the new units... Well, that's not true. I'll Lock the Drowner is still awesome. But all of the new units we got in the Arena of Death box are terrible. They're genuinely terrible. They're overpriced. They don't have good functionality in the army, and you should never take them in competitive play. Wow, absolutely shit Warscrolls, dude. Anyway, overall army's good. Okay, we're gonna make a list now. And the list that I'm going to make, I am really excited about because it's really, really dumb. So I want to show y'all a list that came to my mind when I saw this book. So check this out. I call this list the nuke ghost. So, how do we build the nuke ghost list? Well, first we're going to pick the Emerald Host as our subfaction, because what the Emerald Host lets us do is it allows us to pick D3+1 different units, including characters on the battlefield, and just deal free damage to them every battle round, more than likely. All right, now I bet you're wondering, what the hell is a nuke ghost? Are y'all ready? Okay, chat, prepare yourselves. Like, I don't know, what like Monkas, like I'm about to blow your mind. Now, I'm not saying this would be a competitive list, but I am saying it would be a fun as shit list. Are you ready for this? I need to know if y'all are ready. Wake up. I'm smacking your face, chat. Wake up. Y'all fell asleep while I was reading the book. I'll probably download this stream and put it on YouTube now that I think about it, because it might be kind of interesting to watch. Hello, chat? Anybody there? All named characters? No. Check this out. So, our general and the most important character in the entire list, there you go, there you are, is the Knight of Shrouds on Ethereal Steed. He's our general. Now, you may ask, what? Why the Knight of Shrouds on Ethereal Steed? Like, what? Okay, so here's why. 12-inch move, 6 wounds, 4 up save, 5 attacks, 3s to hit, 3s to wound, -1 rend, 2 damage. He can issue all-out attack for free, and when he fights in the combat phase, he activates a nearby unit for free at the exact same time. That doesn't matter. None of that matters. Here's what matters. He has a 6-up, he has 6 wounds, and at the end of the combat phase, if he kills a single enemy model, he not only heals a wound, but his number of max wounds goes up by 1. Okay? Remember that. So whenever he kills an enemy model, his max wounds, his wound characteristic goes up by 1. So he would have 7 wounds. Do it again, 8 wounds. Do it again, 9 wounds, etc. Okay? Here's where it gets stupid. And by stupid, I mean super fun. Once again, this is probably not a competitive list, but it would be really fun. And I definitely want to take it to a casual tournament. So here's the critical component. Command traits. Spiteful Spirit. At the end of the combat phase, if this character was allocated any wounds that were not negated, roll a number of dice equal to your wounds characteristic. For every 4+, every single enemy unit within 6 inches suffers a mortal wound. So at base, turn 1, first combat phase, he runs into combat. If he takes a single wound, at least, and it gets through all of his saves, he takes a single wound, he will roll 6 dice for every enemy unit within 6 inches, and for every single 4+, he deals a mortal wound to every enemy. And you think about that. And if he kills a single enemy model during that combat phase, which includes this ability, he then gets +1 max wound. So the next combat phase, if he takes a single wound, he rolls 7 dice. Same thing. Next combat phase, he rolls 8 dice. Next combat phase, he rolls 9 dice. Next combat phase, he rolls 10 dice. Do you see it, chat? Do you see the potential we're dealing with here? So, we have his command trait of Spiteful Spirit. And our goal is to try and get him into combat. Vigario Pro, have a great night, dude. Thanks so much for being here. Our ultimate goal is that we need to get him into combat as quickly as possible. And we either need to maximize the amount of damage he does, or we need to make it very, very hard to snipe him with like a ton of damage. So what item could we possibly give him to ensure that he stays alive? Oh, how fascinating. The Soulfire Ring. At the end of the combat phase, you can heal up to D6 wounds if you kill an enemy model. That's at the end of the combat phase. So that means if his sword kills anyone, which is likely 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1, 2, then you get D6 wounds back. So we could take that Soulfire Ring. That would be very strong and be a good way to keep him alive. We could give him a weapon. Shadow's Edge, I could see being pretty decent. So make it with when he attacks if his wound roll is a 6, he deals D3 mortals instead of 2 damage at -1. Prophetum Nox, have a great night, dude. Thanks so much for being here. We could also do Pendant of the Fellwind. Pendant of the Fellwind would actually make him fairly tanky. Because it would give -1 to wound rolls to all melee attacks within melee range. What do y'all think? I think either Pendant of the Fellwind or Soulfire Ring for him. Like I think he'll have enough damage output. Wait, when does the blow up happen versus when does the ring happen? So Super Ego, they happen simultaneously. So whoever's turn it is would get to determine the order that happens in. So if it's my turn, I would obviously say I'm going to blow up first, then I'm going to use the Soulfire Ring. But if it was my opponent's turn, he would probably... It doesn't actually matter because the Soulfire Ring only goes off because of your attacks. So like if you use the Soulfire Ring, or if the Knight of Shrouds does not kill an enemy model with his melee attacks, then the Soulfire Ring doesn't work. He has to kill someone with his melee attack. You know what? I think we should go Pendant of the Fellwind, honestly. Because there's another way we can get healing. So I think we should go Pendant of the Fellwind to be because that'll give us just a flat should we go Shadow's Edge? Man, that's tough because we need him to get kills. That's the thing. Like he absolutely must get a kill every turn. Let's double check the wording on his sword. Okay, and it has to be with his sword. You know what? Okay, I think we should take Shadow's Edge. Because we need to do everything in our power to maximize his damage. So yeah, let's take Shadow's Edge. All right, so that's our general. So that's going to cost us hard countered by Gargants. Yeah, well, that's why I said it's a fun list, not a competitive list. I've already made a competitive list, which I will show to y'all after this. So that's 155 points. Let's put it like here. All right, next. Our goal is going to be to have a very, very fast army that just like yeets across the table and slams into the enemy as hard as possible. And we're going to want anything that can buff our Big Daddy. Lady Ollander would probably be a very good pick. Between her magic, all of her abilities that reward her for being within 12 inches. I think Lady Ollander is actually a pretty safe pick. Because I don't think we necessarily need a horde with this. So let's take Lady Ollander. And that gives us a good wizard. She's pretty pricey, but you know, she's very well worth it. Especially if we like literally throw her into the enemy on turn 1. Next to the big boss. She's 340. Then we're gonna need the buff team, the people that can give us +1 to hit and +1 to wound. So we're gonna need a Guardian of Souls. Well, maybe Ollander might be too expensive, actually. Like, she's very, very good. Let's play it by ear. Let's play it by ear. So we want the Guardian of Souls for sure. For that +1 to wound aura. So he is 150. Then we need the Spirit Torment for the +1 to hit aura. Well, do we? Let's not do a Spirit Torment yet. Maybe we can get away without him because we do get a free all-out attack, and we do have Lady Ollander for her spell for +1 to hit as well. What do y'all think? Do you think the +1 to hit aura is worth it? Because that's gonna cost us 210 points. Yeah, we're gonna absolutely take the Drowner. I'll rock the Drowner 100%. Because the other thing I would rather do, because that's 1, 2, 3, 4 characters so far. So we're getting close to our max character limit. We need a Dreadblade Harrow to really capitalize on this. So we need a Dreadblade Harrow, which is 145. Let's keep the characters all like here. We'll come back to the Spirit Torment. We'll see if we can afford him. All right, so that's at minimum our character squad. It's a lot of characters, but we'll get to why that's beefy. Then what we do. Oh. What about this, chat? So we could take a Spirit Torment for the +1 to hit aura. Or we could take a Cruel Gas Cruciator, since we know we're just gonna throw the army into the opponent like as soon as turn 1 starts. If we take a Cruel Gas, then our character is being guarded by a -1 to damage aura. I think we gotta go with that. We gotta go with that. Okay. So how are we doing on points? 155, 340, 150, 175, 145, 150. Okay, that's not too bad. So we have 885 points left to spend on our army. And basically, we just need stuff to, like, get us in there. And we're also going to need the Mortalis. So let's go ahead and get the Mortalis Terminexus. That's 85 points. Because that gives us emergency heals and also big AoE damage if our opponent has, like, a bunch of hidden characters. And that combos really nicely with the Emerald Host. Now we just need an army. So we need at least 3 battle line units. We definitely want Spirit Hosts, because Spirit Hosts can bodyguard for our boss to prevent him from getting sniped. And if he, like, what we can do is if the Spirit Hosts are close enough to him in combat, then if the Knight of Shrouds, like, takes damage, if we know it's not going to kill him, we can just let him take the damage so we know his ability will go off to deal damage to nearby enemies. But if it could kill him, then instead of going for his 6-up ward save, we could try and pass it onto the Spirit Host so it's more like a 3-up ward save. So we got a unit of Spirit Hosts, which are 125. Chain Wraths are very, very cheap. So I think we just take those because they're like one of the cheapest options. That's 110. So that's 125. 110. We need one more battle line. Reapers are pretty solid, especially if our opponent has like a really annoying horde. Actually, do we want Shadow's Edge? Or would it be better to give him the Light Shard of the Harvest Moon? Which is the big +1 attacks buff. Because then he could like throw, once we get that big charge, he could just give everybody +1 attack. But I kind of want it to revolve around him though. Yeah, that's fine. We could get more Spirit Hosts. I wonder. No. Black Coach is too expensive. Well, what would he... What would the Black Coach be bringing to the table? He would be another big teleport. Actually, this is really stupid, but I kind of just want to see what happens. So we have this super character squad. I need one more battle line unit. More chain rats to act as a shield to keep physical distance. Because honest to goodness, the goal is just to survive the initial onslaught of turn 1 and then teleport pretty much the entire army on top of them at the end at turn 1. So like if I went first, I would just teleport. I would just like immediately jump on them. Or if they went first, they would do their turn and then my turn would be jumping on top of them. More chain rasp. We could take like another 2 units of 10. Damn, we are 125. Damn, we are 5 points short of being able to afford another unit of Spirit Hosts and another unit of Chain Rasps. Oh man, that would have been so juicy. That would have been so juicy. Yeah, I think the best thing for us would be 2 more units of Chain Rasps. Just to have like a shitload of crap. Like they could take objectives while while the character squad is just like slamming into the enemy. So that leaves us at 1900 points. So what I'm thinking is you start the game, you deploy the army where you put all of the characters together next to the Spirit Host, so the Spirit Host can absorb any turn 1 damage. Then you have the Chained Rasp on any objectives, or as just like a meat shield of, you know, like just a line. So you have a meat shield line, and then you have some bonus Chained Rasp to just deal with capturing turn 1 objectives. And then at the end of deployment, you remove, depending on how far away the enemy is, because how fast is the Knight of Shrouds? He's 12 inches, I think. Yeah, he has a 12-inch move. That is fucking fast. So what you could do is I would probably like just put him on the front line if I think I'm gonna go first. Oh wait, we have to think about battalions. Did anything get added in Thondia that I need to know about for list building? I have not bothered with list building, or I don't own War in Thondia. Yeah. Because then we could do a warlord battalion. And that would give us another item. So we could give the Guardian of Souls the Midnight Tome. So we know we get 1 guaranteed cast of the our endless spell, the Mortalis Terra Nexus. What's the point of the coach? So check this out. Turn 1, you deploy your entire army. You deploy the Knight of Shrouds as close to the enemy as possible. Like you put him as close to them as you possibly can, with unless they're like a turn 1 charge army, like you know, like greenskins or something. Like certain armies can charge you on turn 1. So like obviously if that's the case, you want to be a little careful. But if that's not the case, what you do is you put the Knight of Shrouds as close as you possibly can. And then at the start of the game, so before the game starts, you get to remove 3 units from the battlefield and put them in the underworld. I would remove Lady Ollander, the Cruel Gas Cruciator, and either one of the Chain Rasp units. Yeah, probably one of the Chain Rasps. So you take those 3 off the table. And then on turn 1, what you do is you teleport your entire army, with the one exception of the Knight of Shrouds, who should move normally. But I would say if the enemy is more than like, if like you look at it and you're like, okay, with 12 inches, I cannot get in range of my, I probably won't be able to get in charge range, then I would put the Knight of Shrouds in the underworld because then you don't have to worry about him being sniped. So then what you do is when it's your turn, you drop Lady Allender, the Cruel Gas Cruciator, and the Knight of Shrouds, let's say, in front, not exact, 9 inches away from the enemy. The Cruel Gas can have a little bit of space, and Allender can have a little bit of space. You drop them all right there together, and then you use Allrock's command ability to teleport himself and the Guardian of Souls, and then the Dreadblade Harrow can copy that command ability and teleport himself and the Spirit Hosts. So now you have all your characters together in one spot with the Spirit Host Bodyguard, and then the Black Coach in the movement phase can teleport himself to teleport right next to them. So now you have all 6 of your characters, the Spirit Host Bodyguard, and your Black Coach monster. And then you just charge. And you slam into them and hopefully do a devastating amount of damage. Meanwhile, Allender is able to use her shooting attack that turn because she will be in range, guaranteed. And the Cruel Gas will be in range, so any of your characters that charge are going to have that -1 to be damaged aura. And you'll have Allrock, the Dreadblade Harrow, Allender, and the Knight of Shrouds fighting in combat. And what I would also do is probably deploy the Guardian of Souls as close to where you think you're going to charge. And then I would use the Midnight Tome and just throw the thing at them. So you just have this death squad to just try and punch a hole in the enemy's army, while also hopefully allowing the Knight of Shrouds to like tear people up. The only thing I'm not sold on is his item. I feel like for the Knight of Shrouds, instead of Shadow's Edge, I don't know, it's hard. I feel like the -1 to be wounded aura would be so strong if all your characters are just like running as a little death squad. It feels strange you don't have any Hex Race. Dude, I never run Hex Race. I have never in my life taken Hex Race. But that's my meme build. And the goal is really just to try and let the Knight of Shrouds go crazy. I think the only thing I might change is switch Shadow's Edge for a different item. Like either the heal, probably the heal item actually. I think I would take the heal item, to be honest. Well, I don't know. There's a good chance though you're gonna get off some Shadow's Edge. Like 5 attacks with +1 to hit. He's hitting on 2s, so you lose 1s and 6s, but you keep 2 through 5s. And then from those, any 6s you roll deal D3 mortal wounds. Yeah, I think it's worth keeping. If the point is that he's supposed to deal as much damage as possible. Because he will heal himself whenever he kills someone. He heals a wound whenever he stabs anybody. But let me show y'all a real list I made. Where is it? So this is the real list that I made. Except for that's actually wrong. Should be. So the only thing I'm not sold on with this list is Valentian, but the thing about me is like my favorite thing is to run Lady Allender and Valentian in the same list. I like having them as like a wedding couple. because it's thematic and fun. So this is the first competitive minded list that I have made. Oh no, this is wrong. The heck? Oh, I know where it is. Hold on. This is wrong. I need to switch to this screen because I need to go into Discord to get it. That's where I posted it. I was like, this isn't right at all. Okay. This is the first list that I finished. And it's the list I'm going to be running at my next tournament once I get the book. So the list is you take a general, you take the Guardian of Souls with Cloaked in Shadow. So that means that he can only be targeted by one unit in the shooting phase and only one unit in the combat phase. So it makes him like super survivable, which is good because he's my general and he is the squishiest person that I have. Then I gave him the Midnight Tome so that he can summon the Mortalis Terminexus guaranteed at least once per game. And then for his spell, I gave him the Seal of Shaiish. So that's a spell where he can pick a unit within 12 inches and that unit gets a 5-up ward save until my next hero phase. Then I took Lady Ollander and I gave her the Shade Mist spell. Then I took Kardos Valentian, who will steal command points and also is just a huge beat stick. And then I took a Cruel Gas Cruciator and I gave the Cruel Gas the Light Shard of the Harvest Moon. So what that does is I can use it once per game in a combat phase, in one of my combat phases. And if I use it, it gives all friendly Nighthaunts wholly within 12 inches +1 attack to all of their melee weapons. Which combos very, very nicely with anything in the army, but also actually would be very nice on Hexrace now that I think about it. Spirit Torment I took because I wanted the +1 to hit aura, and also the healing. And then for my army, I have one unit of 20 Chain Wraths who act kind of as my like big horde. Also because if I manage to land that ability, if I get the +1 attack ability on them, they will have 61 attacks, which is like, holy shit, that's so many attacks. I have one unit of Spirit Host to act as a bodyguard, especially for Valentian and Ollander. Then I have one unit of Grimghast Reapers who I'm going to position behind the Chain Rasp because they can reach over 2 ranks of Chain Rasps. Also, if there's an enemy unit with 5 or more models, I know to throw the Reapers at them because then they'll have 3 attacks each before I give them the +1 attack buff. Then I have 2 units of Bladegeist Revenants. And the reason I have 2 units of Bladegeist Revenants is because I still think they're the best unit in the roster. And they're actually the only unit in the roster whose points went down. So instead of being 190 for a unit of 10, it's now 175 for a unit of 10. And if I can keep them within the +1 to hit and +1 to wound aura, they will have 3 attacks each, 2s to hit, 2s to wound, -1 rend, 1 damage, which is very, very good. Plus, if I can get them within the +1 attack aura, that means they would have 4 attacks per model. Crazy. And then, of course, I have the 2 Chain Gas that are just there for the +1 to hit aura. And then the Mortalis. I can either use it on my character squad if I get hit by like Lord Croak or something. I can use it on my character squad to heal all of them D3 wounds at once. Or more likely, I can use it at the start of the game. I can immediately throw it at the enemy. Because what you do is, since I'm playing Emerald Host, I get to pick D3 +1 enemies to deal D3 wounds to every battle round. So what you do is on turn 1, ideally, you like pick all of their characters who are hopefully standing vaguely close together. And then, so you pick like 2 to 3 characters. So at the start of battle round 1, you roll a d6 for each of them, and for every 2 up, you deal d3 mortal wounds, right? So let's say like you get 3 of their characters. You deal like on average 2 wounds to each of those characters. Then what you do is at the start of your hero phase, you try to summon the Mortalis. I probably wouldn't Midnight Tome it, but you summon the Mortalis, and the Mortalis, a lot of people underestimate how fast it is. Actually, I think they may have debuffed it a little bit now that I think about it. So it's nope. Okay, yeah. So it has a move of 8, I think still, or is it? Yeah, it still has a move of 8 inches, and has a cast range of 12, or is that a 6? No, I think it's a 6. But either way, that means on turn 1, it has an effective radius of 18 inches. If that's a 6. If that's an 8, then it has an effective range of 20 inches. I think it's a 6. So what you could do is on turn 1, you summon it the full 12 inches away from you, and then you move it another 6 inches, and then it has a 6-inch area of effect. So it actually has a 24-inch range. So you have a 24-inch bubble, which you will almost assuredly be in range. So from that 24-inch bubble, you throw it at the same characters you put the Emerald Host Curse on, and then you get to do another D3 wounds to all of those characters on a 2-up. So if you play your cards right, as long as they're within 24 inches of where the Guardian of Souls is, you can hit literally their entire character squad for 2d3 wounds at the start of the game, which is devastating. That is devastating amount of damage. So yeah, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I will start playing Nighthaunt games on stream here pretty soon. But yeah, you could absolutely, like, you could easily start a game and like completely assassinate a group of like characters who are like 4 to 6 wounds. Or at the very least scare the shit out of them. But yeah, so that's good.